Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Wargaming.net League North America. I am James Rockstar Grieve, joined alongside me, Randall Rookhill Holcomb.
Hello.
And let me tell you guys, we have a fun set of matches in store for you guys.
Oh, man. Okay, so we'll get into those in just a second, Rocks, because they are quite telling. Today is the second week of the WGLNA, but check out our recap from last week and look at those matches because they were explosive, setting the tone, setting the pace for everything moving forward this season. Please check them out YouTube and on Twitch. Taking a look at the standings from week one, we have Apex in the lead, Deja Vu close behind them.
Yep, and then Eclipse, top tier, Aquatic M60s, and 07, all in the middle of the pack, tied on 3 points apiece.
Yes, Valence and Rival sit at the last two spaces in our league right now.
And then just remember that also the prize pool for the season is $325,000 and a trip for the Global Grand Finals.
Yes, please remember that one. That's what these guys are fighting for. Aquatic and Eclipse fight today. 07 and Apex a little later tonight.
And then Valence and top tier in the offline match along with rival Deja Vu. We'll bring you guys updates from those matches as we have them, because we know that all of you guys playing fantasy out there care about those scores just as much as the online matches. So also make sure you go and pick your fantasy roster at the URL down below that'll pop up in just a second.
Yep.
And you should have, I believe, just a couple of minutes left to get those in. Remember, all the rosters reset match day to match day.
Yeah, we were talking about that on Facebook Live before the show. Some of you may have caught that a few minutes ago. So please head over there, WGLNA. Also on Twitter, at WGLNA, hashtag WGLNA. And of course, our question of the day is, what is your favorite map in the WGLNA? Of the 8 maps in this league, what is your pick? What's your favorite? What's your best map? And Rockstar, what's your favorite map? What's your answer for this question?
I'm going to have to say Himmelsdorf, just because you get a lot of heavy tank brawls, you get a lot of quick rotations, and a teams show when they've been practicing and when they haven't.
Yeah, and you're a heavy tank player at heart. I'm a light, medium player, so I really don't prefer Himmelsdorf as much as I go for Porovka, maybe Steps, Mines, absolutely, and then Cliff, of course. Cliff is great for medium tanks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
and
speaking of medium tanks, let's see who's going to be playing a medium tank for our first team up today, which should be Eclipse.
yeah, tell me.
60s anyways.
Yeah, Aquatic M60s. Let's talk about them. 3 players, Mr. Man, Veggie, and Bales are who I have down to watch today. Your thoughts?
Well, Bales has been doing the climbs since he joined the team last season. He always manages to put himself in those positions where he can just get a lot of damage off. But then Veggie and Mr. Man, they finished the last season top on kills in the whole league. So definitely players to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and then on Eclipse, we're going to be watching Photo Finish. No click, no skill. Someone who's shown up and blown up quite a bit, and Exo.
Yeah, all the 3 new additions to Eclipse. They made a lot of roster changes during the offseason. But so far, Photo Finish and No Nick have really stepped into that lineup and pretty much owned the starting spots that they got. Photo Finish used to be a main player for Apex, and he's stepped into this Eclipse roster, no problem. And then No Nick, No Skill comes over from Ukraine. Someone that we really don't have a whole lot of background knowledge of, but he's playing very well so far.
Yeah, well, and actually, before the show, I had chosen Master Pupil to be one of my 3 players to watch, but you suggested Exo. Now, tell me what you think of Exo. Why do you think he's someone to watch out for?
Well, he's very versed in all the climbs, along with Vetro, and he plays very good in his bat chat, especially just because the climbs and everything else. Yeah. And he fits in with Vetro and the rest of the team, and he's been playing fairly well so far this season. Master Pupil's kind of been a staple in this roster for a little while, but he's one of those players that just does the things that need to be done behind the scenes, doesn't normally translate always into a lot of fantasy points.
Okay, so we'll be watching a lot of Photo Finish, I think, as well. Photo is one of those players that, because he's new to the team, and same with NoClick, but Photo is someone who was on Eclipse, so he was a part of a team that had a different tempo. you could say.
Well, he's
right?
part of Apex.
Yeah, well, sorry, Apex. Now joining Eclipse, excuse me.
Yeah.
But like when Photo made that transition, we didn't expect, well, we didn't know what to expect. When you change from one team to another, some players who've been top performers don't measure up. Whatever their new role in the team or the new dynamic just doesn't work out. But Photo Finish, you'll notice, has put the numbers up.
Yeah, well, he's one of those players that if you back him into the corner, he will fight. He will make it hard. And so especially when you put him in tanks like an IS-4, 215B, and you put their back up against the wall,
Yeah.
he's that player who's going to find a way to pump out a lot of damage. He always has been, and he's continued to do it on Eclipse.
Absolutely. Let's move on to actually another topic between both of these teams, Aquatic M60 versus Eclipse.
Right.
And we do actually have the map choices. We'll talk about those a little bit more in a minute, but taking a glance at them, actually, we're going to be having Proc, Ruinberg, and Himmels and Murrow.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that in a second after we have our face-off between captains from both teams up next.
Oh, gentlemen, welcome to the show. We have Mr. Man, Master Pupil. Gentlemen, welcome back. I'm going to be starting off with our question of the day. I want to know what you guys think. Aquatic M60s. What is your best map? What's Aquatic's favorite map in the map pool?
Last season definitely was mine's, and our record showed for that. This season so far, we've actually been liking Murrow, which is weird because last season we never really played it at all. The one time we did, we got wrecked. So
does that have to do with the new Swedish tanks coming in? I know that you're a fan of the Kronwagen. Does that have to do something to do with it?
a little bit, and also has to do with how much time we put into certain maps because of where we feel we are with them.
Okay, so let's switch over. Master Pupil, you falling asleep over there on me, buddy?
Try not to, man.
Because it looks like you're out in the sun right now. This looks comfy. What's with the palm trees?
Oh, yeah.
You're on vacation right now?
Just chilling.
Just chilling like a villain?
Yeah.
All right, so tell me what's Eclipse's favorite map? What do you guys own on?
Oh, we've always been gods at Proc. We've loved the map. It's just it fits our style so well. We're good at flexing, reacting, rotating. That's just our thing. And being able to focus fire as well, we're pretty good at. So open maps just benefit us, and Proc, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I noticed Proc's actually going to be starting off the series. So is that deliberate? Do you deliberately place a map at the beginning of the series to kind of get a lead, or is that just kind of to pad yourself for some a safer start? What are you going for when you pick your favorite map to start, Master Pupil?
Well, I mean, I'm not really sure what T1 goes through because he's the one who does all the map picking. But yeah, I mean, starting out on our favorite map should give us a good advantage morale-wise. So it should be fun.
Yep. Speaking of morale, Mr. Man, we talked earlier about how your team needs to stop playing with fear because you off and on it kind of creeps into your guys' performance and you guys kind of drop off. What are you guys kind of doing to address that?
Honestly, between the top tier game and the rival game, just a lot of yelling. And I mean, it wasn't like bad yelling, but it was constructive, and it got us motivated to make sure that we play better.
Yeah, sometimes getting fired up and actually just having a little fight about it just gets everything out in the open, right? Just put your feelings out there. Everyone gets to know exactly what everyone's thinking, and then you get to address it. It's just a better way of doing it rather than sitting down and going, well, what do you feel about? What do you think of that strat, Mr. Man? Does that make you feel okay? Is that you guys aren't really that style, right?
No.
Much more energy to it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for jumping on the face-off. I will see you guys on the battlefield. Let's get ready for match number 1.
Yep. So pretty interesting there, and it's not a big surprise, especially coming out of M60s. Sometimes you just need to be loud. You need to make sure that everyone knows how you feel, and you guys need to get all on the same page. When you're kind of on the sideline, just going, well, I don't like that. Some people may go, oh, he's fine, he'll get over it, and you just keep doing what you're doing, and then it stops working. So you gotta get on the same page.
I have to agree with the Aquatic M60 style because I just like putting things out in the open. If I mess up, I want someone to say that I messed up, and I want them to call me out. Yeah, it's gonna suck. I might instinctively do something bad, but that's what it is. Anyway, I'm sorry to delay. Let's go and look at the maps real quick. These maps are Proc, Ruinberg, Himmelsdorf, Murrow, and then, of course, our tiebreaker today is Ghost Town. Please note, by the way, that the 4th map in the series, Murrovanka, is not actually chosen by Aquatic. This is just a note I wanted to make when we saw the graphic. We've updated it with the choices. But
it is in the sense that they didn't ban it earlier on.
But what happens is because 4 maps are banned and then 4 maps are picked, there's only 1 map that you can have in that slot at the end. And so really, it's a choice more towards Eclipse as to whether Himmelsdorf or Murrow was the 4th map.
Well, let's see how the map picks played out with our first battle.
Prokhorovka, one of the first maps in the game. Teams start at the regular spawn points as they do in standard battles. Bases are separated from each other by the railway, so the defending team has to choose whether to send their vehicles to the left side, playing them in the centre, or to the right of the railway, occupying the hill and a part of the village. The attacking team usually attacks the first base. However, the teams often go for face-to-face confrontations, 7-on-7, in the hilly terrain at the centre. That's why both teams frequently use vehicles with good gun depression angles and sturdy turrets.
And we are underway with battle number 1. Tank picks coming in here. 2 IS-7s, an STB, 3 Batchats, and an RU-251 for Aquatic M60s. Eclipse, an IS-7, a Kronwagen, 4 Batchats, and an RU-251.
All right, that RU-251 from Dark God Zim has started a little bit of a scouting run up the middle. He'll be playing a very traditional, we could call it, scouting position where you're doing what's called active scouting as opposed to passive scouting. Now, you know a little bit about this, right, Rox? Just sit in a bush, wait and see if anybody's going to show up, and, well, then you're going to decide what to do.
Easiest way to describe it is as a tripwire in a lot of these strats. When you go passive, you find a bush somewhere where you're watching the other side of the map that's away from the rest of your team, and then when you spot something, the rest of your team knows they need to move.
Yeah, and this is a perfect example you can see on screen now. Marsh 166. He's going to be our example of a passive scout. He'll be sitting all the way in the northeast corner of the map, and he'll be waiting to find one bush to just kind of hide in and wait. This is in contrast to Dark God Zim, who's going to be taking a more active role. As you can see, he's on the move. He's hunting for something. He's looking for an opponent. He's looking to find something that his allies can shoot at. Now, please note, Dark God Zim is not all that close to any allies. T1 Diabetic is a little far away. The IS-7 from Photo Finish can't really cover him. So one of the things to note here is that Dark God Zim's taking a huge risk, and he's betting that it's going to pay off.
But that is exactly why the RU-251 is the tank to take that risk. It's the tier 8 in the lineup. It has the least amount of hit points, has the smallest gun. So it gets out in front, and if there's a tank that has to be thrown away, that has to fall into a trap and spring it and figure out exactly where their team is, you want it to be this RU-251, or in other cases, a 1390.
Precisely. It's the cost benefit. Now, what we're going to be seeing is the active scout versus the passive scout. Marsh 166 will spot Dark God Zim before Dark God Zim spots him. However, as a scout, Dark God Zim is aware that he has just now been spotted. You hear that little noise? That was his spotting indicator. And Dark God knows he's spotted. He is aware that there's a tank that spotted him somewhere a little ways back. And that those few hundred meters behind him tell him that the most typical positions will be up on that hill, where he cannot spot the light tank back. Of course, he is aware that there are a few other spots on the map. It's possible Marsh isn't actually on top of the hill, if you're kind of following where I'm going with that. But look, T1 Diabetic...
Dark God Zim needs to be careful right now, because this is exactly what M60s want. Dark God Zim's trying to come find Marsh, but what's happened is because they know that RU's over there, they've shifted all their Batchats to watch the back of this hill. And so when Dark God Zim gets lit right now, there's 4 Batchats sitting here staring at him, but they haven't been able to find a connection yet.
Yeah, but look at this wonderful... Oh, Marsh gets hit for 378. It was
T1 Diabetic in the backfield.
Nice shot right there. So Dark God is in a what we call defilade, a little bit of a low ground, and he's going to be able to keep his head just low enough that he won't take too much fire. His opponents from Aquatic are going to have to actually expose themselves quite a bit in order to get shots on Dark God Zim. Now, looks like Dark God might have gotten a spot onto... Oh, there's Marsh getting hits. Let's actually jump onto him. This passive scout, one of the big problems with being a passive scout is escaping. You're sitting still. You're not already in motion. With an active scout, one thing you're often depending on is that you're already in motion, and that makes it more difficult for opponents to get a real beat on you. And just right now is the call from Eclipse. They're counting on their opponents to be distracted. They know a bunch of Batchats just fired at the RU-251, which means that their own Batchats, and it looks like Kronwagen leading the way, are going to be able to engage and be in a short lead.
And there's no one that's going to be able to stop them, really. Mr. Man may spot them as they move down here, but he's one Batchat by himself. He doesn't have the firepower to stop 3 Batchats and a Kronwagen pushing down here in this echelon.
Yeah, although please, I'm going to note T1 Diabetic is about 30, 40 seconds behind supporting his allies. He's probably just going to need to turn into the middle of the map to start the engagement and to actually support anyone. Otherwise, I don't think this is going to go so well. Vetro, No Click, Master Pupil, all firing at the IS-7 over in... Where? They're not even getting hits. There's no damage being done.
They're all holding down. The I-7s are playing the low defilade along the 5-6 line, and the Batchats have kind of gotten behind the train cars and other stuff over at A6, and they're not being spotted.
Yeah, and then Vetro taking is at 237 hit points. So Eclipse has just gone for an opening move that most of the time would have panned out, right? It would have gotten some kind of damage dealt. It would have been elite because the positioning from Aquatic was such that
M60s are coming with the push here. Sorry to cut you off.
No, it's a counter push.
They're counter pushing. They have Exo. They have him caught out. He's already taken 788 damage, 1,200, and he goes down. The first tank down for Eclipse.
Yeah, No Click's going to be on the way out, but I don't think he's got enough fight in him. He's taking too much, 13-12 right now. 1 or 2 more shells should finish him off. If he needs to keep moving, I think, because these Batchats are going to be in a stop-and-go situation where if you're in a bat and you get to stop and then fire all your shells, amazing. But if you keep having to inch forward, you're more and more likely to just drop a shell into the dirt. Photo's going to go down in his IS-7 in the middle of the map, trying to transition from the southeast to the west. And T1 Diabetic, I don't know what's going on here. We've got 1 kill onto the STB1 of Veggie. Dark God Zib's going in, a suicide scout, nice distraction, but I don't think Felix is going to let him get away that easy. And
Yeah,
Dark God...
I don't think he'll have a choice in the matter, though, because, Marsh came out of nowhere. He's going to get in here. They know that T1 Diabetic's reloading, so Marsh can chase him to his heart's descent. And he sets him on fire once.
That's going to hurt his reload. I'm going to jump into his first person. You're going to see 17 seconds left on T1 Diabetic. He's looking for a place to escape. He's going to try and make it as inconvenient as possible for the RU-251, 251 of Marsh to actually chase him down. And you're going to see Marsh is going to realize, I can leave now. This is it's okay.
This is a great start for M60s. The counter push there. The biggest problem for Eclipse is they didn't have any eyes on that counter push. Once they figured out that they weren't there in that 6 line, they started leaving. They left their tanks in the low ground, and M60s just drove right up to them, got them in their face, and just took down Exo.
Yeah, exactly. And now you've got a 1v1 with a Batchat against an RU-251. There's a tier 8 light tank holding up a crucial Batchat, and you can see on the scoreboard, we've missed most of the real fight at this point. It's been Eclipse getting slaughtered by Aquatic's defense. Aquatic, strong on the response, I'd say. Yep. And Eclipse, I liked what they were going for. I'm surprised they didn't get the results that they needed.
The one missing piece was that there was no intel over that 5-6 line. They had them in the perfect position. They had them in a spot where M60s didn't really have a whole lot of options, but they backed off. They didn't give any eyes across for those tanks over on the 2-3 line to really punish them.
Yeah, and now T1, No Click are the 2 tanks left alive, and 488, 254. There's not a lot of hit points left. Everything from Aquatic is a little too healthy, and on top of that, Aquatic's on defense for this one. This is a strong start for Aquatic M60s in this match, and I think it's very telling. This could be very telling about where Aquatic is next to Eclipse, a team which was 2nd place last season and deserved it.
M60s played really well last season, all the way up until the playoffs, and then in the playoffs, they just fell apart. They dropped points, and they ended up going down to the 5th, 6th place match, and ended up even losing that to Rival. So, they ended last season on a low note. So far this season, they've come back, and they've shown that they've been working on things, and so far, they had a great match versus Rival.
Yeah, and wow, T1 is having trouble getting hits on target. That
Batchat gun likes to not behave all the time, though, so it's understandable.
Yeah, I agree. I actually in my Batchat, I expect to drop 1 of the 5 shells I fire. One of them is going to go into tracks and then just get caught up and not pen. One of them is going to just hit the dirt because there's that little bit of the reticle that's not on target. One of those things. So it's understandable, especially at the end when T1's at this point just trying to fight for a little time. If you're Eclipse right now, what you're doing is you're talking about, all right, next battle we're going to do this. Let's just take a second, talk about it, take the last few seconds of this before we get back to Garage and figure out our defense side plan. Eclipse now gets to be on defense.
Yep, so good stuff there from M60s. I do like what I saw out of them in terms of, trying to make sure they had that 0 line covered. But the biggest problem, though, was once they realized that's what they were going for, the guns had shifted, Eclipse very smartly pushed down the 2 line. So it was M60s starting off a little bit weak, then Eclipse kind of recognizing the weakness, jumping on it. But the problem comes right here, where once they had an advantage, they didn't really realize it. They backed off, and M60s capitalized on it.
Yeah, they weren't able to get the hits on target. They needed to just get shots on target. It was the simplest thing. It's you go for the strat, you need to get the hits, you don't get them this time, and that's it. It's game over. You've got a number of auto-loader tanks with incredibly long reload times, 30, 40 seconds, that have just fired 4 or 5 shells. Eclipse was going to take advantage of just that against Aquatic, who had just fired a number of shells against their scout. But because they weren't able to get the follow-up, it doesn't work. Bales, yes, I'm so glad I picked him for Fantasy. You picked him as well, right?
No, I ended up actually dropping him.
I keep forgetting this one.
Yeah, Mr. Man. I had a good feeling about Mr. Man today, so not too bad a start there, 2,200, and then Vetro's also on my team at 2,000. And then the last pick from this match for me, Photo Finish, only able to do 1,100 in that IS-7, got focused out by the 2 IS-7s fairly early on.
IS-7s very often don't perform on proc as well, though. So most
It
depends
on the situation. It depends how the other team decides to react. Last season, we saw a lot of up and over onto the 6 line straight into the IS-7s. And so it was either they go down instantly, or they're the last tank left alive because they have the worst DPM, and they're able to just sit there and just fire shot after shot after shot into these really low armored, poorly armored anyways, bat chats. And they're able to rack up the damage.
All right, so let's see what they're going to go for on this next battle. Just loading in. And we will see some IS-7s. We will see Kronwagen. And I really think Kronwagen is a stronger choice for proc as playing the middle part of the map.
Yep, well, if we look at the lineups here coming in, an IS-7, 3 bat shots, 4 bat shots, a Gorilla 15, and an RU-251. Eclipse, a Kronwagen, 4 bats, a 140, and an RU-251.
Now, I want to ask about that Object 140. Let's talk about that. Why, of the 3 choices that you have for a Russian medium tank, would you choose the 140?
I think the 140 is the most balanced all-around tank. Has better gun depression than the other 2. It's a bit quicker than the other ones. Can keep up with the bat chats or close to it. And it's just a little bit more friendly of a user-friendly tank compared to the 430, where it has better DPM and it has something that you can really leverage. The gun handling on it is pretty bad. And so, unless you're Mr. Man for some reason and love playing that thing, a lot of people tend to go with the 140.
Now we have the opening move from Aquatic. It's going to be an aggressive east side play. And you can see it, RU-251 from Marsh has spotted T1 Diabetic. So on his opening run, able to see 1 tank. And that's not quite telling enough. So he's going to actually go back in. And if you look at the total mini-map, jump out of Marsh's view, we can see actually a number of tanks. No click. Hiding a little ways back, and shots fired from Marsh, but oh, what a mistake. That was not a
down he goes.
Choice. He's down. Cover fire from Eclipse, waiting just in time, but Vetro down by half. No click. Down by a third already. And fire coming in. Good cover from Aquatic M60s. They sacrificed Marsh, but I think that counts as paying off, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. And EXO in this 140 is just looking for shots in these bat chats who don't have really any sort of cover. They're already down there tier 8. Veggie is down to 547 HP, and there just aren't a whole lot of options left for Aquatic M60s at this point.
Yeah, I was thinking a moment ago that this was not looking so bad for him, but after they decided to push forward, there might have been the mistake.
Well, the problem is Eclipse has now boxed them in, essentially. They've brought tanks around the F line, they've taken control of the middle, and they control the north. And that leaves M60s in this really awkward spot down in the low ground in a riverbed and just towards the hill. The problem is that it's Mr. Man in that grill on the hill, and Dark God Zim's about to go in and light him.
Yeah, Dark Ninja as well, also jumping onto EXO. It is a bat chat versus an Object 140. This is dangerous because Dark Ninja is so deep in enemy territory. If cover fire comes in and is able to deal enough, Dark Ninja might have trouble getting the kill onto EXO because it looks like Dark Ninja's on reload, and he is going to get the support fire from Fuel My Potato. But there, Felix and Mr. Man will go down 3 tanks versus 1, 2, 5 from Eclipse. Hit points about the same.
Yep, Photo Finish, not getting any connections out of those last 2 shots. Has to drop his clip and reload. Well, he already fired his shots anyways and started his reload. So he's in there 20 seconds out before he can get in here, and Master Pupil is running from Bales. Bales knows that the Kronwagen's reloading, so he's just going to peek up and over, but it's Vetro from downtown that picks up Bales.
Oh, he did not go low enough on the other side of the hill. Stayed exposed on top, goes down for that. I'm thinking that it's over for Aquatic right now. They probably know it just as well as we do. And Dark Ninja's going to go all the way to northeast, try and get some high ground, make himself hard to approach, but he's leaving Feel My Potato exposed to not 1, not 2, but 3 enemy tanks. And now Dark God Zim probably should be able to get the finishing
Feel
kill.
My Potato just trying to get into the low ground while he finishes off his clip reload. He has 10 seconds left. And he has Dark Ninja covering him. However, the problem is right now it's a 4v2. M60s are attacking and have to find a way to get these tanks from Eclipse to move or maybe get a free pick, but I don't really see any options for him.
This one looks like it's going in favor of Eclipse, so 1-1 to start this on Prague. Not bad. We know this was a map favored by Eclipse last season, but they have changed up their roster so that defense, so their attack, while it failed, their defense looks solid. Aquatic M60s certainly looked more confident, but Eclipse wins this one in style. So 1-1 to start off the series. I don't think anything astounding happened. I have to admit the scout run at the beginning from, I'll look at
Marsh.
Yeah, that was Marsh. I wanted to make sure. He does 218 damage, goes down for it. And while the rest of his team was able to deliver some follow-up damage, you'll notice that that didn't secure any particular lead. They didn't get a kill that...
They lost their tier 8, and they lost all 12 of his HP. And the biggest thing, especially while you're attacking, is a tier 8 is not only your extra eyes, but also your cap pressure. And so that was 2 things really down for M60s when they lost March right here in this opening play.
And look at that. Not even a minute has passed in the battle yet. Notice that. There was 9 minutes on the clock when he went down. You want to live a little longer than that. Ideally, yes, it's okay to sacrifice a scout, but if you don't have to, don't sacrifice the scout. I think what could have happened there with Aquatic is they should have held Marsh 166 passive, not had him fire, and then allowed the rest of his team to take advantage of spotting. That would have given Aquatic a better chance, but that Grill 15 does do work.
Mr. Man, my fantasy pick right there, coming up big there, 2,500. Then Vetro and Photo Finish, 2K each essentially. And then Bales dropping off onto the second page. So, one thing that we were just talking about is, it's okay to throw away a tier 8 when you need to in those dire situations. If there's something risky you're going to do, that's fine. However, you also want to make sure that you get the most out of it that you can. So I'm not saying that you need to YOLO it, essentially, and just drive it out there into guns, into the unknown every single time. But be smart with it.
Yeah.
But there are certain cases where, it's acceptable.
Yeah.
This is one of those cases where I think, slowing it down a little bit, making sure they're not pushing into a trap. And if they do push into a trap, you have to make sure you have some way of punishing it, which where that really fell apart was not only did they lose their tier 8, if you're going to give it away, you need to make sure you have some way of trading it out, that you put damage back onto the other team, and none of that came out that game.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Because when we were looking at it, when we were just kind of when we were just getting into the battle, when we were seeing the opening scout run, it looked like that scout run was going to be successful. It looked like Marsh was going to go passive. Everything up to that point I approved. Everything after that, once he fired, I questioned that. I think that Marsh may have gotten a little excited, thought that T1 was alone, which, based on what he'd spotted already, made sense for the most part.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I agree, for sure. But however, we're going to be going on to our second map in the series up next, so let's see if they change things up a little bit.
Runeberg, a mixed type map. The defending team starts the battle on the green, and the attacking team starts at the centre square of the town. Bases are located quite far from each other. Both bases are better controlled from the village when playing a heavy setup. It's better to attack the first base through the top direction with the help of several well-armoured heavy tanks. For the attack on the second base, it's better to use a more mobile setup and either play through the centre or split forces. In general, the map is not easy to play on. Teams often use blind shots and risky shifting of the forces from one flank to another.
And an interesting tank pick on Ruinberg coming out of Eclipse. 250Bs, 215B, an IS-4, a Batchat, an STRV 103B, commonly known as the S-Tank, and the T-54 lightweight. Meanwhile, two 113s, a 50B, a 430, and 2 Tier 9 Batchats. And
we might have a disconnect. Hold your horses there.
See, no, team, tanks are moving.
Tanks are moving? All right, looks like...
Yeah, no, we're going.
Looks like we're going.
And it's going to be T1 Diabetic doing the same thing they did against Apex, just taking that S-Tank all the way down the 0 line. However, the thing they're not counting on, these Tier 9 Bats are just going all the way down the south. They're not stopping, and they may get here before that S-Tank can cut them off, which may be part of the plan.
Yeah, this is a dangerous play right now. Aquatic M60s is down a player. It's too late for them to get a restart. They're going to have to hope that their 50B is able to load back into the battle and help out. Felix is crucial to this. But looking at the way this opening damage is going, I don't think Eclipse realizes...
Well, Vetro stuck his neck out there, and he's getting focused out. He's down to 163 HP. He's a one-shot already.
Feel My Potato might be the player to get that kill shot. No, he's not going to be able to. He's going to move forward. They're going to take the east side. Aquatic M60 securing their position on the battlefield, while Dark God Zim, T-54 Lightweight, might be about to find our AFK 50B. And yeah, he's going to find him, but I don't think he realizes that 50B is AFK. What is this? You're serious? Free kill? Look at these fantasy points. Goes right for the turret.
Right, where the ammo rack's located.
Yep, which, pay attention to that. Also firing right below the turret, 242, right into the side of that. And you're seeing more shells come in. A support fire is going to try to take down Felix. And this is heartbreaking, because while this is, you know, an AFK 50B, I have seen it before where a team's gone, you know what? Yes, he disconnected. That sucks. But we can use him as distraction, because guess what? He still spots things, and Dark God Zim's not going to, you know, be able to drive past safely.
Yep, but the push is coming out for M60s. They're going to take this opportunity to get aggressive, and they're starting to push this zero line. They know that the IS-4 is down in the low ground, and they know the T-54 Lightweight's in the village, so they're going to take this opportunity to try to trade things out.
Now, are they going to go for the S-Tank? Is that going to be their main focus in this battle as a major damage dealer? Or are they going to have to go... Well, I don't think they...
I don't think it matters where they want to go, because they're just bleeding way too much HP. I think that this game's pretty much over at this point. They're just feeding the 50Bs. They're going in there trying to get that 430 where he can pump out damage.
Exo's burning. Exo might be going down pretty soon. We'll see in just a sec. There's one kill. Can Veggie follow it up with another? Yes, he does. And actually, 3 tanks versus 5. Not a bad showing from Aquatic for being a tank down, especially it being their 50B. That's a tier
all I
8.
have to say is if anyone has Dark God Zim on your fantasy team, you love that moment where he just gets to stare at a 50B and just farm all that damage.
Oh yeah, beautiful for them. So Aquatic's going to lose out, unfortunately, on their attack in Ruinberg. I think that appeared as though it was going to be successful, or at least mostly. I'd say the execution from the members in the battle was excellent.
That may also have to do with how these teams approach a map like Ruinberg. You know, they were debating calling for the disconnect, and they said it's Ruinberg attack, it's probably a loss anyways, let's just not waste the time.
That's a good point, because if you actually have too many disconnects called in a row, you actually are going to not be able to call them after a point, because there is a certain point at which if you call 3 or like I think it's about 2 or 3, then they actually just, you don't get disconnect calls anymore because you're expected to swap the player out or something. So we're going to have to see if Aquatic's going to be able to recover from that unfortunate battle. You're right, it is Ruinberg attack. Very hard to win. I think it's the most defensive-sided map in the league right now.
I think there is, so far across the whole league, there is 1 win on offense so far.
Yeah, it's an incredibly hard map to win on. That's the challenge of Ruinberg. You pick this map so that you can go 1-1. You know you're going to defend it successfully, and you know your opponent's going to. But that's fine for you, because you're counting on getting a 2-up. You're 2 wins, I should be more clear, on another map later on.
The way teams look at this a lot when they go through map picking is they want to get the score 3-3 essentially at worst case, and then find a map where they can separate themselves and get that extra 2 to make it 5-3 at the minimum. And if they get more wins than that, that's great. So they try to find the maps, you know, there were 1 map where if they can get it in there where they know they can get the win on both sides, and then 3 other maps where they know at the bare minimum they can go 1-1. You know, that they'll feel confident in that map pick.
Absolutely, I agree completely with that. And what you'll have to worry about then is, do I put that special map that I'm going to make the difference on at the beginning of a series or at the end? And that all is dictated by map picking. So do you win the coin flip? Do I get to choose map first? That's when I'm going to put the map I'm banking on first. If I want it to be third, I'll make it so. Now looking at the post-game FV from Master Pupil, 3,000 damage. I don't think you can hope for much better than that. And down on the list, Bales, Marsh, getting messed up quite a bit. I don't think they had much of a chance to deal damage. But Dark God Zim and that T-54 Lightweight, surprisingly low damage. You'd think that with 11 shots fired, 918, he'd have been able to farm a little bit more, but the rest of his team, I think, got in on that.
I think the IS-4 of Photo Finish, my fantasy pick, was one of the ones sitting there in the IS-4 in the low ground who was able to get the most shots off onto him.
Okay, so good for you, buddy.
Yeah, it works out. I'll take them where I can get them. Started off the first week a little bit rough fantasy-wise, but I'll get back in there.
Let's remind you guys right now, actually, be sure to head over to our fantasy site. It's wgl.gg/fantasy WGLNA. We've got it on lower third right there for you. If you're not already playing, go ahead, go over there, sign up, take a look around. You're not going to be able to play today. Rosters are locked because, of course, it is the show now. But for Thursday, make sure you get a roster together. It's not too late. You can still win. We give out prizes. So
based on the weekly standings and the season standings. So even if you just sign up for next week or whatever, you get in there, you can play for the weekly prize. And then the season prize includes a Type 59 and a lot of gold. So if you try really, really hard and get in there and start putting up some good points, you can probably catch up.
Yeah, Type 59 is a worthy prize, too. It's one of the oldest premium tanks in the game. It is a Chinese version of the T-54, and so in the game it performs Tier 8, whereas the T-54 is, of course, Tier 9. It is worth it. Please play. I love it. I'll platoon with you if you ask and you win that prize. You're worth it. I love all the Russian-style tanks where you've just got the nice sloped front, a kind of a bubble turret, and the whole point of the tank is go forward, find the bad men, shoot the bad men with your friends, and win.
Plays very much like a Tier 8 T-62A.
T6, yeah, but I mean they are based off literally the same design.
Tank,
yeah, it's like you go all the way from now. I think at Tier, it starts with like the T-34, the Tier 5 one.
Mm-hmm.
You go up from there, and you see the development kind of happen up till like T-43. Then you get T-44, and that's when you get the first hull that looks like all of the Tier 10 Russian mediums, all of the Tier 10, or rather all the Russian mediums spread out. So then all the way Tier 8, 9, and 10, you've got so many choices. I could pick one for every day of the week.
Yep, exactly. And then you got stuff like the Object 416 thrown in there, the Pancake.
Oh, yeah.
So, a lot of, very similar, but, slight little changes in just the overall design.
In music, you call it theme and variations.
Yep.
So you stick with one main point, and you just switch it up a little bit and see how that works. And that's what I like about seeing Russian medium tanks, because every single one I get into, I know what I can do. And so that's always why I'm going to be asking about 140 versus T-62A versus, any of the other choices any given Sunday. But we are about to get back into Ruinberg.
Teams have switched sides. Lineups are coming in as follows. M60s, a 113, 250Bs, an IS-7, a Batchat, a T-10, and a Batchat AP. Felix still playing, so he must have reconnected.
Yep, and confirming he is connected this time. I can see in-game the indicators there.
Looking at Eclipse, 2 IS-7s, 2 Batchats, a 4005 Stage 2, and 2 Tier 9 Bats. Interesting lineup there out of Eclipse, just because they are choosing to bring that 4005 on offense.
What's
to me, that says it's going to be a North Cap.
Okay. I was about to just ask just that. So with a North Cap, we're going to have to see if Aquatic M60s is going to have the read. If they're going to figure out what their opponent's going for.
Oddly enough, if you look at their deployment right now, they're reading this as a hard North Cap, but Eclipse are actually taking all their tanks to the south, maybe playing some mind games there with the lineup, saying, all right, we're going to show you this. We're going to make you think that we're going towards the north, and then we're going to go south while you're not ready for it.
Yep, although we do see Dark God Zim getting himself spotted in the Batchat AP way down the line. So we'll jump over to him, and I think this is part of the play. So Dark God Zim is going to deliberately get himself spotted. You saw how he moved himself rather far forward. He didn't play it super safe, and he's banking on the fact that his opponent's going to spot him, and then he's going to leave. You'll see at the same time, everyone else from Eclipse is kind of spread out all over the southeast, which I actually want to ask you about this. Have you seen layouts like this work all that often?
Well, this is what you have to do to have a successful attack. The very few times that you can do it, you have to make the other team move and rotate. And so what they've done is essentially they've said, hey, we're going to go to the north, but then they didn't actually go to the north. They instead went to the south, where M60s was gambling that they weren't going to be. And so in this case, Eclipse now has tanks on the 2-cap without taking any damage at all. They're in a great position. They can cover this cap. They can put more tanks on the cap to increase the cap pressure, and they have guns in position to punish them as they come back. This is extremely delicate out of Eclipse. Extremely delicate. It has to be done just right.
And
But
we're
it looks
going
like
to
they're pulling it off.
And we're going to see just how they're going to do it as we listen in on Eclipse's comms.
I'll try to shoot the 50B.
Yeah, if I'm 50B and I try to help you.
If they will push here, let's kill this guy, yeah? Maybe from cap.
Okay.
Nice.
Nice.
It's gonna be a
We-
bat.
we-
He's gonna peek. There it is.
Oh, Batch on
113's
0
pushing.
113.
He shot.
We should push
Again,
this
we should-
113. We should get the
And
113.
50B. No, no, no,
50B is
50B. No,
bigger.
50B.
Yep.
50B.
Help,
Run
Daddy,
from
behind
cap,
me.
run.
Dark Ninja fire shot.
We have shots on the 130.
Dark Ninja.
I'll have
I still have cap. I
Loading.
still have cap.
I have some
Got him.
Didn't kill
I'm
me.
getting clipped.
I'll
I'm
help
dead.
with Bales.
Batch shot 4. Batch shot 4. Mr. Man's a one shot. Guys, clean up
Bales
this
is
stuff.
clipping.
Clean up
Bales
this
is
stuff.
Lol.
Okay, I'm
No, he's
clipping.
minus
Can we
2.
clean up Bales?
50B shot on me. 50B shot. You need to.
Can you guys
Yeah,
kill
I'm
the
pushing
guys
the
in
50B.
city?
We
No,
got
no,
the
Photo,
let me get
out of like where we are.
50B's a one shot.
Okay, I need to run.
I did 0 damage, lol.
Guys.
Rip.
Can you support with the 50B, someone? Yeah, support.
You can hear the frustration in Eclipse. They were so close to pulling this off, and it looks like it's about to slip through their fingers as they are down 3-5.
And it's just unfortunate. I'd say good show, but after losing T1 in the FV, when he got pinched out in the far west, I felt like that kind of spelled that this was over, you know?
Well, it's not over yet. They've gotten the kills, and there's 2 one-shotter tanks
hey.
alive for M60, so they can clean this up still.
Okay, excuse me, I thought this was going a different way for a minute. Now, Aquatic is down on hit points, but they are up on guns in the battlefield. So this can easily go either way. Master Pupil's going to go down. That's Mr. Man in 50B. Now Mr. Man is able to just slip away from Vetro and Photo. And Veggie's going to be moving around to go for a kill. He's got 391. So it's an average roll. Will kill him from a bat chat. Won't matter anymore. Vetro's dead. But Photo Finish should be able to one-shot Veggie. And, well, Aquatic's able to outplay. Good control. You're seeing how mobility gives them an advantage in this
They're
one.
opening up different angles. They're saying, come on, shoot Bales, shoot him. He has all the HP. Photo knows that he needs to take guns out of the fight, so he's looking for the one-shotter. He's just trying to ignore Bales.
Bales is reloading. He knows. Bales can't do anything to him.
So he's just going to hold his shots. However, he has to find a kill here soon. Or just do that, put the damage out, and he needs to hope that he can block the damage from Veggie.
Not going to happen.
Doesn't look like it's going to happen. He's going to try to angle his armor.
No.
Close. Very close. A good attempt there out of Eclipse. We say so often that Ruinberg defense is one of those things that you should win if you're a solid team. Attacking it is extremely hard. Eclipse, I like the play. I really do. I'm a fan of that strat. They played it oh so well up until the point where they got that reset. It was after that, when that first reset came in, where they needed to make a decision. And I think Master People's idea of let's push and get that 113 would have been the better call than sitting in that low ground in that crossfire.
You know, I really didn't feel like the cap was going to finish. It almost never does, you know?
The thing is when you play north like that, they put 1 tank on cap, so they make M60s go, all right, they have 1 on cap, we have a minute. And they waited till it got to about 50, and then all of a sudden they threw 2 more tanks onto it. So for that last 50% of the cap, there was 3 tanks on it all of a sudden. And you could see M60s struggling to get back into position to get those resets. And that's the moment that you have to get that cap. If you do not successfully get that cap right then, you don't even want to have cap pressure once they're in those positions. You need to either make a play or back off.
But why didn't we see anyone screening the cap? We didn't see anyone go past the cap from Eclipse and jump into the east side village, which is what I would expect to see out of a successful cap.
What they were trying to do is they were trying to get M60s to panic back, to come back in and have to rush to get those resets, and then from when that happens, to pump out the damage into those tanks. Looking at the damage here, it did work out to a certain extent. Photo Finish coming up big there for my fantasy team, 5,100 damage. That is not bad out of an IS-7.
No, not at all. IS-7 is not expected to put up the damage, and yet he does. So even though Eclipse is falling behind a little bit there, they are able to make a strong showing. And we're going to be moving on to Himmelsdorf for our next battle while I make sure that I get my settings all good.
Yep. So overall, though, I am a fan of the play out of Eclipse. Now, you mentioned the 4005 getting caught out being something that went wrong there. The one reason why I'll disagree with that is that was the bait that sold that strat.
It got 2 tanks away from the cap. They were on the far side.
Not only that, but it was the bait in the sense of, all right, they're bringing a 4005.
Yeah.
What are they going to do with that 4005? You think about it. If you look at all the replays from all the regions, if you're playing Ruinberg Attack with a 4005, 99% of the time, you're going to hit that north cap. And that's exactly what M60's gambled on. They're bringing a 4005. They have no options. They're going to go for the north. And so they stacked all their heavy tanks up there, and instead they went south. And while having that 4005 bit them in the rear in terms of, it can't really do a whole lot when they're in the south, it's what's made that strat almost work.
All right, well, let's see what strats we're going to get on our next map, battle number 5.
Himmelsdorf, a small city map. The teams start the battle in opposite corners. Both bases are located close to each other, but in a way that you can't stay on the defensive all the time. The main attack routes pass through the hill, the alley and the railroad, but in general, the attack can be successfully executed through any part of the map. Heavy tanks and tank destroyers with powerful guns run the show here. However, a lot depends on the mobile light tanks.
Lineups coming in here at Himmelsdorf. We got M60s, a 113, 350Bs, an IS-7, a Batchat, and then an AMX 1390. Eclipse. Master Pupil coming in that 113, an IS-7, 250Bs, a 4005, a Batchat, and an RU-251.
What are you seeing out of this lineup? Anything special? Any little insights to be gleaned based on tank choices?
A 4005 going up to the hill to Eclipse says that they either want to go for the 2-cap play, use that 4005 to watch the cross on the beeline, or they want to use it to dig out a tank possibly in the G3 corner. Using the Hess shells, just slam that IS-7 turret. Takes 2 or 3 shells, but you can dig a tank out of there.
Oh, okay. I'll jump over and see what's going on over there, because the 4005 is a tank that isn't highly mobile. It's faster than its counterparts of similar guns.
The 183.
Exactly. But it's not exactly zippy. So if he goes to the east side of the map, if he goes up towards the hill, and I think you're right to say that they're obviously going to go for the 2-cap, would it be more accurate to say that they can't go for the 1-cap in that case?
Not necessarily, because if they can take control of the 1-cap up until maybe the E-line, they can leave that 4005 deep down there on the red line somewhere where he won't get spotted, and he can put in some support fire. The biggest problem, though, is he cannot afford to get spotted, so he has to play it really deep, stay out of the view range of the other tanks.
Because no armor.
Because no armor. Yeah. It's a big, giant, some people call it the barn, some people call it the refrigerator. It's just a big, ugly tank.
Ooh, and I love the support fire that we're getting onto Felix. They're trying to really pressure out one particular tank, and you can see how that crossfire is paying off, because no matter which way Felix turns, he's going to take damage. It's going to be difficult for him. But No Click is exposed. He's almost on his own. He does have Dark God Zim backing him up. I like seeing that from Eclipse. You have a scout covering his back, making sure that no one's going to get to sneak up on him. And at the same time, you're able to actually hold Marsh 166 from Aquatic from being able to do anything else. However, of course, this isn't Eclipse making too many gains. They're not really able to get a lead. Whoa, nice hit there on Marsh. That's probably from the IS-7 of Photo Finish. So Photo, again, one of your picks for fantasy, is showing up and making the hits happen.
Yep, now, I like this play out of Eclipse, just in the sense they're slowing it down, and they're trying to let their 183 work. He's been working this 9-line ramp for a while now, just going up and down, playing these different angles. He's coming down here to this lower plateau, and he has shots towards Felix there, a shot that not many people know about, and he's actually going to give up the hill entirely. He's just going to push down below. So he's going to rejoin the rest of his tanks, and they're just giving him what time they can to maybe find some shots. Only 3 minutes in, so no rush yet. However, they have probably another 2 to 3 minutes before they have to make a play.
No, but I like this. I like this out of Aquatic. See, this is something that you don't get to see enough on Himmelsdorf that I really think is worth investing in, and that is figuring out what to do as the defender when your opponent's not being super active. Now, you could say Eclipse is wanting Aquatic to get aggressive, but I think getting aggressive on Himmelsdorf can pay off, because you can, if you dictate the battle to your opponent, if they're not ready for that, they're at a huge disadvantage, right? I mean, it's almost a goes without saying kind of a thing, that if you're Aquatic and you're able to force Eclipse to engage when they're not ready for it, that maybe you could come out ahead.
Yeah, but Eclipse have amassed up all their tanks, essentially, pushed them up towards the 8-line. Now only half of them are spotted on that cross, but they're in a position where they can put the cap pressure on now. And the tanks from M60s are going to shift through the south and clear it out, but I don't think they know that 4005 is still lurking down there.
Well, I don't think Eclipse has any idea that there's so many tanks down south, do they? They don't know that Aquatic's moved 4 of their tier 10s.
Oh, let's see if he manages. If he finds one of these 50Bs, he could delete them off the map. He's waiting for the rotation. This is a one-trick pony. This is a let's hope you make a sloppy rotation and drive past this 4005 to let him put 1 Hess shell into you.
And that's Bales. Bales is about to get whacked. And puts 1 shell into T1, angles himself very, very... Oh, it's 1731, that hurts.
But T1 Diabetic's going to go down now. He's going to get clipped out. Someone else is going to come in here and find the last kill shot onto him.
Is that Mr. Man going for it? Because he's up top. And actually, that's dangerous for him to try and drop down. He should just drive down the ramp. Don't hang...
Oh, is he going to go for it? Oh, T1 Diabetic knows. He gets it. Oh, and he backs up. And that's
Dicey.
a nice kill for Mr. Man.
That's always tricky, too. He could have slipped down if he wasn't paying enough attention. Now the fight in the north, we're going to have to jump over there because Veggie's taking 12-18 focus down from EXO, while Dark Godzim and NoClick are trying to get away from a fight they were just having with an IS-7 in the east. Dark Ninja's going to go down, and looking at the hit points, we do have Mr. Man at full health from M60s. Every single tank from Eclipse is 1 or 2 shots away from death. There goes EXO. They're going to start dropping like dominoes.
Yep, well, I like this crossfire from M60s right now. They have 1 tank on both sides of the cap. Feel Like Potato sitting there in those cubbies, and Felix has his opposite over at A7, so it's not leaving Vetro or Master Pupil with any real options right now.
Yeah, and Bales looks like he's going to be able to survive a little bit longer. He might even be able to get a reload in.
And Felix realizes that Bales is in trouble. He's shifted in. He's trying to find a shot on the photo finish, but Photo's going to get behind the tank corpse.
Dark Godzim.
Sit there and hold down.
Dark Godzim, nice play from him. He's able to take down the 50B and save his Bad Chat battle buddy. But Mr. Man finally full health and all loaded up. Not anymore. He's just unloaded, and well, I don't think that was nearly enough damage. He's going to have to escape in this case. Feel My Potato, Felix, yeah, they're going to be able to take on the 113, but is that going to be enough? Felix needs to stay alive in that IS-7, and here comes Photo Finish, and a bounce on the backside of an IS-7.
Still a 4v3. Photo Finish has 24 HP. No Nick, No Skill has 123 HP. Dark Godzim has 191. And Vetro's the only one that can possibly take a shot from anyone but the IS-7, so essentially all one-shotters left alive for Eclipse.
Mr. Man's about reloaded. There he goes, 1 kill. He's going to follow it up, looks for Dark Godzim, does not find it. And with 2 tanks left, it's all up to Mr. Man. He has to clutch this. And I think what's important right now for Felix is to not die.
Yeah, he has to keep, Mr. Man has 2 goals here. 1, keep Felix alive, his only teammate at this point. Keep him a gun in the fight, but he has to be the one that draws fire and he doesn't get clipped out by the 50B.
Yeah, he's going to have to focus on this one. This is dangerous for him. 441
he needs to
hit
not
points
get trapped
for Vetro.
as he goes around this corner.
Oh, and Vetro's not paying enough attention. Looks like he's on reload. That's going to be a free kill. 2 shells left for Mr. Man, and that's going to be it. Aquatic M60s is going to win on defense. Himmelsdorf, excellent play. That was chaotic, I'd say.
That was a very back and forth. It was almost hard to follow just because there was so many different little fights breaking out across the map at so many different angles. T1 Diabetic, I'm not necessarily a big fan of that play. I see what they're going for. The problem is once again, it's a one-trick pony. It's a one and done. It's going to get 1 shot off. He had no one down there to cover him.
Yeah, you're talking about the FE4005. Yeah, that was down in the southeast, waiting for shots in the I-7 early.
Now he got a great shot onto Bales. Don't get me wrong. 1700, that's nothing to scoff at. But Bales was still left alive. That's a tier 10 down. For Eclipse at that point. So that's a tank basically given away, and they didn't actually take a gun off the field. Well, 1700, you could say they basically did. But still a gun alive, and as we saw from not from Master Pupil, but from Pompous last week, a gun alive is still a gun doing damage.
Exactly. You have to actually get the kill. If you just get a hit for plenty of damage, you can see how it won't pan out for you. And Aquatic M60s, yeah, just because your tank's alive, he still did plenty of damage. So Veggie, Bales, both were able to perform even after taking those big hits. Veggie does go down later on in the match, where we're seeing in a replay right now. I loved the way Mr. Man played this. I'm surprised, though, that Mr. Man didn't take more damage. That was the confusing part. Where was this Bat Chat? Why wasn't he taking any damage? Why wasn't anyone focusing on him? This is a medium tank in Himmelsdorf, and everyone knows on a city map, late game, when there's only 1 or 2 tanks alive, that's when the medium tanks really shine.
Yep, well, look at the damage here. Feel My Potato in that 113 and Felix. They were the 2 heavy tanks that were left there on cap, and they were the ones that got the most damage out towards Eclipse when they tried to force that cap. And then looking at the second page here, it's players that we've seen do a lot of damage so far tonight, like Mr. Man and Photo Finish on the second page, not really able to be effective. The Batchat got left up on the hill. The biggest thing he did was he got that kill onto T1 Diabetic to take him out of the fight.
Yeah.
But past that, he really wasn't able to get into the fight just because they were playing up towards that northeast corner. The northeast corner is not the most forgiving of maps to play if you're a Batchat.
Yeah. Now we are going to get ready to go into our next battle. However, I'm wondering...
All the tanks appear
looks
to
like,
be loaded in.
Yeah, for a moment there I was worried about Feel My Potato. I saw him loading in a little slow.
He is playing from Ukraine, so definitely going to have a little bit of a latency issue there.
Yeah, that'll happen from time to time.
Yep, M60's coming in with a T57, an IS-7, 250Bs, a Kronwagen, a Grill, and an AMX 1390. Meanwhile, Eclipse, a 215B, 250Bs, a Kronwagen of their own, a Grill, a Batchat, and an IS-3.
And look at this opening move. We have every tank from Aquatic going forward. I'm guessing this is a fast cap. Right into cap number 2. Get a split coming out while the tanks from Eclipse have all gone to the southeast. This is a hugely risky move. They're going to have to move around from the south to come back and stop cap. And excuse the line, it's a little bit off, but they'll also have to return back from the west.
Now, one thing I would like to see out of more teams, especially a team like M60's, is recognizing that the other team's not in position to support this IS-3, and not just stop at the cap, but push through to that A4 cubby or up against that A5 wall and get aggressive on that cap and really take control. So often they let them walk back all the way across the cap to get the reset.
You'd stop your opponent from crossing this huge ground, which Dark God Zim is in the perfect spot for, but you're going to see, this is what we're looking for. So the cap's important, mostly, where Dark Ninja and Bale are about to approach, because this is the more difficult angle to approach at. You can't really get a wide angle on it. You are going to be able to fire if they get too exposed, and you're seeing there's a firing line right now. But Marsh, his position, he's just going to shove himself in a corner, and as you can see, there's nothing with an angle on him. So he's going to be able to stay safe for now.
And this is one of those situations where I thought we'd see the Kronwagen used a lot, playing these hold downs, just sitting here in this window, has that turret that's almost impenetrable, and he can just lurk around this 8 line and just be a thorn into the side of these tanks from M60s.
All right, so speaking of them, let's take a listen into Aquatic, see how they're going to handle this attack, whether or not they can succeed.
That's what I'm looking at.
Do you want a 50B with Matt?
Master will help me.
God damn it. Of course I fucking load HE once. I'm loading.
Just get rid of it, yeah.
Batchat will
Oh. Batchat kill.
One can push it.
Can we get a 50B back up to A0?
Yeah.
250B.
If they push you, let me know, Dendy. I'm loaded
Dark
in 4
God's peeking.
seconds.
Dark God is...
They're pushing. We need to help. We need to just go. You guys need to go and kill this and then come help with the rest of this.
My goon is damaged.
Roger that. 50B help. Dark. Let's go.
I'm a rocket.
415 fired. 215 fired.
Okay, Veggie, just back off. Veggie, just back off.
Let's go. This is not good.
I have Dark God. No, I'm on.
I'm on load. I'm on load.
Coming behind.
How many shells do you have, Bills?
215 fired again.
We need to kill this. We need to get on this and kill this.
I'm just gonna take the shots.
Batchat on the hand.
There was a girl.
You have to go up to B.
Better full clip.
15.
Shit.
Sorry.
Oh, fuck.
Right, we can kill him. We can kill
Dark
him.
is getting fucked. We need to
The
go
Kronwagen's gonna kill me.
Or Batchat or something.
Oh. Go better.
3 seconds.
That was just bad.
That was bad.
Yep, as we just heard there at the end, not too happy with how that offense worked out.
It's difficult to execute. Incredibly difficult to execute. Just like we were talking about from Ruinberg, Himmelsdorf is another map which is expected to be more of a 1-in-1.
Yep.
Hard to attack, difficult, yes, to defend successfully, but most teams are up to the task.
It's gone back and forth. Over the years, we've seen it where it's been very offensively sided, and it's been pretty easy for the offense to get the CAD pressure going and make it very hard to reset. Especially back in the days of 754 when we were still playing down at Tier 8. It was a very offensive map. You put a T-37 on the cap sideways, just like we see CDCs use these days.
Yep.
And you can just put an IS-3 on it, hold down. No one's going to reset it. And it turned into one of those maps where attacking was pretty feasible.
Yeah.
Now that we've moved up to Tier 10, shifted the cap circles around a little bit, it's become more of a challenge.
Yeah, it's certainly trickier, but we finished with Himmelsdorf now. This is a 3-3. You talked about this earlier, actually, Rox. You said they're going to go for a 3-3 series. Now, real quick, post-battle, Photo, Exo, Master Pupil, Vetro, and T1 all taking the top 5. That just shows how decisive this defense was from Eclipse. They won it hands down. I don't think there was any doubt. They handled the situation way stronger than their
my fantasy points, Mr. Man, coming up with the goose egg.
Excuse me, that threw me off. Wow. Zero from a grill, buddy.
Come on, Mr. Man.
Oof.
Come on. Got to get those shots in there, especially
hurts.
in a grill. You know, you're putting out 750 a shot. You got to keep yourself in a good position and make sure your shots count. And I don't know whether it was just a positioning thing or some bad RNG, but just not able to really contribute. So only fired once until he got evaporated. So. And he was alive till the end there, too, as well. He was one of the last tanks alive, so just not being in good positions to really help his team.
Yeah, actually, I'm told we actually have the off-broadcast update for you guys. Let's go ahead and check out. Currently scores at 1-1 with Valence in top tier, but here's battle number 1.
Yep, and that's going to be top tier actually coming away here with the first win of the series. Pomp is going for the Goomba onto Spooky, and then it looks like it's going to be Valence actually attempting to go for the fast cap. And I don't know if they actually pull it off because I don't know what the scoreline's going to be here.
Oh, it's going to be 1-1, so Valence
is going to pull this off.
Yeah, it looks like they're supposed to be able to pull this one off. And that's surprising because this is a little bit, this is one of the most tricky situations to come back from on prop. When you've got yourself split on east to west sides of the track, top tier wasn't able to get the shots on target, and it looks like the aggression from Valence was able to come out ahead.
Another thing that's going to be an odd sight to many is G-Force are in a bat chat, and we noticed there. Normally a heavy tank player showing that he can play a bat chat too.
Oh, I think I was getting an update actually on the scores. It might be 2-1 right now, or even 2-2. We'll have to check back on that just a little bit later. Yep. We are getting ready to get into Murovanka. So Murovanka is going to be the 4th and possibly final map. If this goes 1-1, we're going to have to see which team is going to have side choice on Ghost Town.
If you remember, during the face-off with Mr. Man, he said that a map that they've really been feeling and practicing really hard on is Murovanka. Could this be the map which they're able to get both wins on?
All right, you're going to have to see as we're just about to get into map number 4.
Murovanka, a map with a great number of buildings, bushes and trees, amongst which teams hide for most of the battle. The attacking team begins the battle from the top of the village, and the defenders start from the bottom of the map. Both bases are better controlled from the hill near the first base, and from the green in the lower left corner of the map. There are many attack directions. The attacking team often attempts to gain the attention of defenders by putting pressure on the first base, whilst manoeuvring several tanks behind the second base to deliver fire into the defending's flank. Team setups are very diverse, but the players often choose the fastest tanks, even for heavy setups. They could even bring SPGs.
Looking at the lineups coming in here, 2 T-57s, 3 Batchats, and 2 Tier 9 Bats, 4 M60s. Meanwhile, Eclipse, Kronwagen, and STRV, 4 Batchats, and a Crusader SP.
And we're going to see Crusader SPs putting shots on target. 140 into field, my potato. He's going to have just a few seconds left until shot number 2. And will he get it? And let's see. Lotto.
Gets us minor reset, not the one he needs, though.
But that's damage, and that's all that matters. He's got, what, like 5-6 seconds between shells? One more is coming out. Is it a hit? And it is 430 damage on Tamar.
430 is not bad for a Tier 7 artillery. I'm pretty sure that gun averages 400 damage, so if it pens, doing 430 is not bad.
Dark Ninja with the catch.
We playing baseball now?
No, he moved right into the shot. He caught it with his turret. Or his face.
Another shot goes out.
Marsh is going to catch it too.
This Crusader SP has already done like 1,000 damage.
My hero. Dark Gut Zim, you're my hero.
But they still have the cap pressure. Here's the one thing is they haven't gotten the reset on the tanks they really need. And there it comes.
Do you need the reset? That hurts a lot. Wow.
And now
this Crusader SP is just so amazing against these tanks. The T-57, it shouldn't do so much. but I mean,
they'll still get the resets.
yeah.
And Bales is actually taking a lot of damage, 1100. He does find the kill onto Exo, though.
And I love it, just throwing shots out there. It's Dark God's able to defend the cap almost by himself with that. How much damage did he do?
Yep. But now, one sec, Vetro knows that Bales is reloading, so Vetro's just going to push in here and clean up Bales.
Oh, okay, that works. So,
anyways, you were saying?
No, I'm just sitting here fawning over an artillery piece. Don't mind me. It's Veggie getting wrecked right now in the 57. You've got artillery swinging around and just letting shots go as he pleases. He realizes it's actually better to just shoot and miss and just hope for volume of fire, because now there's 3 tanks down on Aquatic. They took so much trying to get the cap that there was nothing left to do. They couldn't get off the cap and start a fight because they've taken enough damage that the Crusader has now paid for itself and then some. So it's over. Like Aquatic, it's over.
Over in the past, we've seen the Crusader SP get resets, but we've never seen it get this sort of this many consistent pens, provided the tanks normally capping aren't bat chats.
Yeah. Oh, did he just sling a shot? Okay, I thought that was about to just go right in the back of T57. But this is an exceptional RD to bring at this level. You're going to get the defensive resets. Your opponent's not going to be bringing heavy enough tanks that the Crusader's going to be nullified. You have to bring really heavy armor for the Crusader not to matter. That's it. And that's it. How fast was that? That was 3 minutes, maybe less? 2 minutes.
It's got to be. I'll tell you exactly how. It was a 3-minute and 6-second battle.
Yep, that was fast. All right.
And I could already tell you that Crusader SP did 1,600 damage.
That's amazing.
Okay, guys.
Now, actually, this is really important. Sorry, I should get back to serious mode. So, because of how fast that battle was, that could decide the tiebreaker right there. So we're going to keep a note, which is that Eclipse just...
No, but it's fastest attacking victory. That was M60's attacking.
You're
so
right.
That battle
you're right,
actually
you're right,
has
right.
no variance on it.
I hate myself right now. So you're right. Wait, have there been any attack wins?
I'm not entirely sure.
Defending. No, everyone's won on defense. No one has won on attack. So if
Eclipse can't
it's
win
over.
this.
No, that's it. If Eclipse wins this, it's over. If they don't win this, we're gonna have to total up all the damage and see who's
I hope our admins have their calculators ready, because so far it's been 1-1 every map.
Time to punch up the numbers. So it's either over, or we have to probably take a few minutes, do some math, and then come back and figure out who's going to be ahead in this one.
Yep, because no matter what happens here, it's either going to be Eclipse winning on attack and making it 5-3, or it's going to be M60's winning on defense for the 4th time tonight, tying the series up 4-4.
Yep.
At which point we get into that whole situation where we have to total up all the damages done.
Yeah, because first it's whoever wins fastest attack. If no one wins fastest attack, or even ties at fastest attack, which has happened before. That's happened.
I'm going to have to say, going out on a limb here, I'm going to have to say there's going to be Eclipse that's going to have the more damage done. Just looking at it, they had that one round on Ruinberg attack where M60s didn't really get off much damage at all. Felix was AFK.
But they still won.
Then you have that Himmelsdorf attack where they didn't really pump out much damage at all.
And then Eclipse here in this last Murrow round, they were able to win in a landslide.
Yep.
So significant damage lead is what we should be seeing out of Eclipse. They should have the choice going into the tiebreaker. But up to this point, let's take a step back and go, you know what? That's not bad. You know, that's well played from Aquatic. I don't think we expected that level of performance, right? We were expecting a little bit more one-sided from Eclipse based on the way that things have been going, but hey, Aquatic showed up today. They really have showed up. They played solid. They still have a chance. It's been back and forth the entire time, and I think damage is going to dictate who comes out ahead in this, because Eclipse again and again and again.
And look at the damage here. You know, T1, Vetro, Master People all doing decent. Dark Ninja and Mr. Man doing what they could for M60s, but not enough. And then the second page here, Photo Finish. Definitely not much of a bat chat player. He's more comfortable definitely in his heavy tanks, his 215B, his IS-7. Haven't really seen him play a bat chat a whole lot, and when we have, he has not performed so much as well as when he's in a heavy tank.
Yeah, it's to be expected, I think.
It's the same thing with G-Forcer to a certain extent. You know, they're a player where you expect them to be very solid in their heavy tanks, put up a lot of damage when they're in the right positions, but then, you know, you throw them into a bat chat, and so far struggling a little bit.
But there is the argument to be made, you know, hey, you throw a heavy tanker and a medium tank, and he's going to perform against his own kind, other heavy tankers, incredibly well, because he knows what annoys him the most when he sees a medium
But
tank.
then he's also may struggle a little bit on, say, the Batchat versus Batchats, or those other sort of medium brawls.
Sorry, I should stop. It looks like we're ready to get into battle. Let's take a look at the lineups. We've already started the countdown timer. IS-7, Kronwagen, 3 Bats, an S-Tank, and an RU-251
Meanwhile,
from Aquatic.
Eclipse coming in here with 2 Kronwagens, 4 Batchats, excuse me, and a T-54 lightweight, and a very odd push starting off the round for M60s.
This is the trap. This is what they're going for. IS-7, Felix, gets in a forward position, gets spotted, by the way. He is lit, meaning the enemy knows where he is. Dark God is going to take a hit for it, down to 441, 32 hit points, and there he goes. He's
Great pick there. Now, the problem is that Eclipse are trying to go for the same play that M60s just went for. They have 2 tanks, 3 tanks on cap already.
Yep, and will they come back in time to stop this? The Kronwagen getting into position, that's Veggie. He may be able to do something about this, but look, Exo is very close and should be able to counter out his position. That's the first reset. Will the second come in on T1? Don't think that's going to happen.
And this is a beautiful crossfire they have. They're relying on Veggie to get the resets onto cap, and then they have the S-Tank sitting over on the 3 line, shooting across to cover the Kronwagen.
Oh, no click gets hit. That's a little reset on him. And reset on T1. That's every single tank that matters on Eclipse getting reset, and they know it's over. They need to get off cap. T1 is getting focused down. He is down to 117, and they're going to have to leave the Kronwagen from photo finish completely alone. But
and right now, the Batchats are actually massing up for Eclipse. They're going to go kill Veggie in the Kronwagen. They know that this is their one opportunity to get him down. The problem is that M60s are hot on their heels.
Yeah, they are going to start running out of steam shortly. I think they've got enough, though, to finish off Master Pupil and Fuel My Potato if they keep up the aggression. But it looks like they're going to stop short, hesitating before getting in this fight.
Yeah, but M60s should have this cleanup here. Both teams attempting to go for a cap fast, but neither team able to really pull it off. Both teams had different methods to resetting the cap, but both of them executed them near perfectly.
Yep. Now, Kronwagen, seeing that turret armor come into play, is able to bounce a shell up from Felix in the IS-7, but he's going to go down to the S-Tank. 3 tanks left alive for Eclipse. This is going to be it. This is going to be a tie. And there you go. Vetro, Exo, I don't think they've got a real chance, but, you know, anything can happen. There goes Vetro. 2 tanks alive.
And Felix is just walking in here in I-7, still on full HP, and he's just going to drive straight at Exo. He doesn't even care that he's loaded. He's just going to push in there, eat the shells, make sure he puts the damage off. And, oh, Bales is going to get the ramp. Nope, it's going to be Fuel My Potato across the 4 line, picking up the kill there. That's going to tie the series up 4-4.
All right, that's going to be a tie. We'll have to see what the admins make the call on as far as damage. Shouldn't take them too long. And once we get that answer, I will let you know immediately. But let's review this matchup until now. So, first battle, that was on proc. Aquatic takes it on defense. You swap, defense sided, Eclipse wins. We go to Ruinberg. Eclipse, strong defense, plays it out. Now, Aquatic M60s, that, I think battle number 4, that was where we saw the disconnect, right?
That was battle number 3.
That was 3. So 3 was the one where we saw Aquatics try the attack. Their 50B was AFK and unable to do
And the other
anything.
thing to keep in mind here is in this whole damage total that the admins are doing right now
is
Eclipse's attack. Not only did their defense put up a lot of damage, more than M60's total damage while they were attacking, when you switch sides, Eclipse put off so much damage in photo finish. Remember, he did 5100 while they were attacking, along with Vetro. So the discrepancy here in the damage between these 2 teams, I don't think is going to be very close. It just may take a minute to get the official word in.
And I think that's the one thing we can talk about as a difference between these 2 teams in this very, very close battle, or match, sorry, is that, yes, Aquatic has stayed in the fight. They've gotten their wins on defense, but what they have not done is they have not come out ahead on damage like Eclipse has. No matter if it was attack or defense, Eclipse was always putting up the damage, right?
Yep.
We can say that one. So that's going to give the side choice when it comes down to Ghost Town. Ghost Town is the tiebreaker map today. And oddly enough, of all of the maps that we've seen in today's series, curiously even, you know? We've seen, what is it? Proc, Ruinberg, Himmelsdorf, Muravanka. All maps which are as far as the defender goes, I'd say the defender has the advantage, right?
Yep.
At least as opposed to Mines and Steps and a few other maps where you could say the attacker has a different dynamic in that one.
Yep.
So,
and one thing, sorry to cut you
Yeah,
off
no,
here.
go, go,
One
go.
thing I wanted to point out on that first page was Mr. Man doing 4,000 damage in that S-Tank. So playing in a good, he sat there, like I said earlier, he was sitting there, had that crossfire with Veggie and the Kronwagen over on the one line. So
Yeah.
basically what they did is the crossfire they set up made it so the Kronwagen get the resets across, and if they wanted to push over onto the Kronwagen, Mr. Man sat there with a tank with a 5-second reload just going pew, pew, pew as they tried to drive and get at him. And he was just able to put up a lot of damage.
sorry, I was while you're saying that, I think I saw a little thing. They're still counting up the damage. It's going to be a minute or two.
Yep.
You have to go through every single battle, tally up everyone's damage, figure out if there was anything in there that needs to be accounted for, and then we'll find out what that is. So it'll take only a moment. Now, expectations for Ghost Town. Let's assume for now that Eclipse is going to get the side choice. If you're Eclipse and you get side choice,
Defense.
Defense?
Goes down.
Defense?
Defense.
I agree. I think we could pretty easily say defense. You have the advantage. Your opponent's pressured to attack, take a little bit more risk, but sometimes that's the kind of fuel that someone needs. But Aquatic M60s has mentioned that a longer series is better for them,
Yep.
and we've seen that in the past. Aquatic M60s comes out ahead in a lot of those longer matches and tiebreakers.
They have that kind of team mentality where they can really sit there and grind things out and get through, a long series where, if they don't get their foot on the gas early, they just kind of get run over and they never really get going. Once
Yeah.
their foot gets on the gas, they keep, just chugging along.
They're kind of like a boxer.
Yep.
It's everyone's going to be taking hits. It's letting yourself take a few and hit them back a little harder. Hopefully they'll get to the end and they'll be more tired than you are, and you'll just be able to finish them off. So that's a little bit of the game that Aquatic goes for. Eclipse, though, it's not like they can't hang. They can go for a long series, no doubt.
Yep, definitely. They can sit there and go blow for blow in some of these. It's it's this sort of mentality that M60s has that works good versus teams like 07 or Top Tier, which is what we saw out of Top Tier. When they played Top Tier, they won 5-3. So they were able to sit there and just go back and forth and back and forth. Actually, take that back. They lost that series to Top Tier. It was Valence that they. Or was it Valence? I'm
Which
getting back my scores backwards here.
Here, I'll check your scores. What are you thinking about? You're
So
talking about
M60's first two games.
Oh, Aquatic M60s played Top Tier, and then Aquatic M60s played Rival.
Okay.
Rival was the blowout,
Right.
and Top Tier was won against Aquatic 5-3.
Okay,
So
that's what I thought.
yeah.
It was Top Tier that ended up winning.
Yeah.
So, but it was still a very long series that went back and forth. Now, one other thing that just came to mind that I want to ask your opinion on.
Oh, yes, sir.
So often on Ghost Town, we see teams play with a tank up at A3 to get the resets. We've seen the Udis used up there a bit, T49s, AMX30s. They put a tank up there and they get the reset. Why not go for something like we just saw on Ravanka and bring that Crusader SP, put them up in that north pocket where you can sit there and get the shots off and get the resets? Why isn't that a thing that we've seen?
Repeat the question.
Crusader SP, reset on cap on Ghost Town. Why is that not a thing? If you have any good counter logic to it, or is it just something that teams haven't tried?
I'd actually never given that much thought. Because
you'd have to think that would be a pretty good solution to getting those resets.
What about the buildings in the middle? Do you have
You
angles?
take one tank at the start of the game, you send them over there, run all the buildings over, the Crusader SP's setting up.
Okay, that works.
You
Yeah,
take
Crusader,
you take a 50B, just drive it straight over
Can
there.
it make the boost? I've
That
never
is a
tried
good
to make it make the
question.
boost. I've
the
never
Crusader
tried
SP
that.
is a pretty fast little tank when you drive in reverse. For some of those that haven't played it,
Yeah.
The tank is actually a Crusader SP or a Crusader chassis backwards.
Oh,
so
I've got it. Math
What
is
do we
in.
got?
They've done math. We have math. Eclipse has damage lead. T1 is going to pick attack or defend.
And he's going to pick defense.
And there we are. You called it.
Yep.
That's what we're going for. So defense for Eclipse. They've got the lead on damage. I think we saw it, but of course you have to be sure. Let the officials find out what the truth is. They're going to go on defense. And with that, we're going to get ready for our final battle of the series. Sorry to jump out of it there. I got excited. Let's get back into it. We were talking about things like Crusaders on this map.
There are different ways to approach Ghost Town. Now, we've seen a lot of teams go for that south rotate on defense and then swing around and just leave one tank in the north to get the resets. Wallhacks famously killed himself on match day 1 by flipping his tank over, trying to get up there. Because
it
the
was
Udis,
unfortunate.
The Udis is a wider tank, so when he tried to make that climb, I saw what happened. I went and watched the replay.
Yeah.
He just kind of lost his balance, got up there, went a little bit higher than he thought he would, and flipped.
And just not even something where he got risky and did something completely foolish. It was just happenstance.
You just have to be real careful with the tank because it's a little bit wider
okay.
than, say, doing it with an RU-251. You just have to be a little bit more careful with your approach. So my point is, I think a Crusader SP might actually be a viable option on this if he can cover for it.
I think I can just say I agree with that, but I don't expect to see it. I'd expect to see, we've seen M4043s.
Yep, we've seen those. We've seen Lorraine 155s, and then, like I said, we've seen T49s so far. We've seen UDES is used. We saw it successfully used.
Yeah.
Well, success is a strange word, because 07, they had their UDES up there. They got him up there in one piece. He did almost 4,000 damage, but they lost.
Yes. So I guess I should say, yes, artillery seems like something fun to play with, maybe see if it works out for your style or your team, but ultimately there are probably safer, better choices. You know, you could probably go for a scout. You could probably go for a higher damage per minute, higher damage output UDES.
Yep.
Perfect example. As
well,
we're
that's
looking
what
at
we're going to see, because Eclipse are on defense. They're bringing in a 113, 250Bs, an E100, a Kronwagen, a Batchat, and the UDES. Meanwhile, M60 is attacking a 215B, an IS-7, 3 T-57s, and 2 Tier 9 Batchats.
Okay. I don't know if I've seen this lineup so much recently. T-57s in that volume from the attacker?
That is a lot of DPM is what that is.
Why no 50Bs?
Well, in this case, T-57s, this map being as small as it is, they don't need to move as far. The 50B has the higher DPM, so when you can get them point blank versus those heavy tanks, you're better off with the 57 where you have that 2-second delay between each shell instead of the 2.5 that the 50B has. And
so better like burst.
Yeah,
the
quicker burst, and the reload on the clip is only 22 seconds, where the 50B, I believe, comes in at 28 seconds without equipment.
Yeah, it's a little higher on there. And so 57, you generally let it reload a little faster, deal a little bit less damage, but it can put out enough, is really what you should say. 3 T-57s together should be able to delete a tank, and before Eclipse is able to really mount some counteroffensive, they're going to be able to back off, reload, and re-engage.
Oh, this Kronwagen is playing the hold down, and they're just going to push up and over, and Master Pupil needs to get out of there because they're just going to push up and delete him.
Oh, he's going to be able to escape. There's cover fire. Look at this. 2 50Bs are going to be able to focus on Dark Ninja. Yes, bounce shells. Yeah, it's not super effective yet, but they should be able to make Aquatic M60s really pay for taking all this ground. I'm curious as to why they're not seeing more effective this.
Yeah,
this is why Eclipse. Why aren't they fighting back? I'm confused. I'm seeing damage.
Well, they have
put
tanks
out.
with very low DPM. That E100 has terrible DPM. The Kronwagen has terrible DPM, and he's reloading. So they're just pushing through, and they're just trying to get the kills.
Okay. Well,
and Master Pupil is going to be the next to go down here to Felix.
He's going to go down. Veggie is going to go down and reply. We have 5 tanks against 4 from Eclipse, so this is going to be pretty close. Mr. Man, though, taking damage as he is on reload for 24 more seconds. Marsh 166 in his Batchat AP is also on reload, trying to escape. And Exo, we're going to have to follow him in his E100, able to get the shot onto Marsh, taking him down. So many hit points from that E100. He's paying off right now.
And Mr. Man's coming in here, and he's going to be loaded in 5 seconds. He needs to get his gun into the fight, and it's going to be Felix that is going to pick up that E100, or he should, but he lows a little bit low, excuse me.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the UDES in the fight as well at this point, even had to come down off the boost. Mr. Man trying to do what he can, but it's going to be 3v2 at this point. Mr. Man and Bales all that remain for M60s. Eclipse have 3 tanks alive, and a majority of them a little low on HP. The UDES, well, it's full HP within itself. You got to remember it only has 1,000 HP to contribute here.
Now look at this. Bales is incredibly low in his T-57, but we talked about it earlier how he has that quick reload time. He's going to be able, if he finds a target, to take them out very quickly. If it is the UDES, there's 1,000 hit points. He's got the damage to deal with that. He can get the kill if he focuses on the UDES. Mr. Man, though, does he have only 2 shells?
He has 4 shells.
4 shells. I thought I misread. Thank you. Yeah, I thought for a moment he was down 4, and that hurts. That would be horrible for them. Now, where's this cap pressure coming from, though? Where's this going to happen?
It was Bales on cap, but he's gotten off at this point.
He's getting back on, actually. So
they're both getting on different caps.
And whoa, that's too much information. You just gave away everything. Aquatic just told Eclipse, hey, we're on both caps at the same time. So pick a team and go for it. But they both got off at the same time, which, well, let's see how that plays out. That really depends on how Eclipse reads that or tries to defend.
I don't know that Eclipse are going to have moved it all at this point. I think they're reasonably comfortable with it.
Photo's going over to the number 2 cap. He's getting over there. So, but you're right in the fact that they haven't really moved. They're holding back, trying to figure out what they're going to go for. Oh, I see. It's the UDES that's trying to get those sneaky angles onto the cap, because there are a few spots in the northwest. You know what I'm talking about? Where you can sneak a shell into the cap zone. But, oh, Mr. Man is spotted in his AP. And he's going to put a shell into Photo. Photo's looking for a reply, but it doesn't look like he's confident he'll even get one if he could. And that's a little bit of damage. So with 5 minutes left, Aquatic can do this. They have to deal 2,329 damage or get the cap. And they're forcing a response. But Vetro in his 50B has the advantage. If he moves in, 1 shell into the T-57, that should do it. That should be the win. The UDES, in the meantime, Dark God Zim, is holding back. I don't think that Eclipse wants to let this one...
They have time. They know that there's only one other tank on the field that could put cap pressure on, and they know that they can get to that cap in plenty of time. So there's no point in them risking some sort of movement early where they can get picked off in some sort of trap.
Here's Mr. Man up the hill. Might not be able to get out of view quite quickly enough. Vetro's going to come around the corner, spots Mr. Man just as he's leaving. But that could be enough information. Vetro's moving towards the cap. Bales knows what's up. Mr. Man moves in but does not get his turret on target quickly enough. He's going to go down, and Vetro's got the chance, cleans it up, finishes the battle. Eclipse wins on defense, takes the match 5-4.
Close stuff there. I guess you could say edge of your seat stuff there. Just back and forth, the push out of M60s. They just didn't stop. They just went up and over. They weren't really able to be as effective as I think they wanted to. Master Pupil did a good job at backing out and really kiting them around that corner into the rest of the guns.
Definitely. And I think that we can say that at the end of the battle, Aquatic had a chance, but it was thin.
Yep.
The odds were stacked against them. They tried as hard as they could. Look at the post-battle damage for me, Rox. Tell me who that top player is.
Whew. That is a lot of damage.
Oh, yeah. 4,000. What is that?
4,620 damage and 2 kills going to Vetro.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be all smooth for a second, but I actually realized I can't see that far.
Yep, and UDES not really able to be a factor in that game, only doing 572 damage.
Ouch.
So we'll get to the rest of the damage scores in a minute.
Yeah.
But, you know, Eclipse picking up the win in overtime, so they are going to temporarily close the gap on Apex, who played in our next match against 07.
Yep.
So for the moment, picking up 2 points on them.
Winning in a tiebreaker versus winning in a normal match, meaning if you win 5-4 or lose 4-5, I guess, you're going to get 2 points to win, 1 point when you lose in a tiebreaker. Normally, you get 3 points. So what's important here is that Aquatic and Eclipse have split points, meaning that if these teams, which are expected to be towards the top of the standings, later in this season might find themselves regretting this match because, yes, Eclipse gets 2 points, but that means Aquatic play a few solid matches. Eclipse, if they drop one here or there, could find themselves falling behind Aquatic. So while this was a victory for Eclipse, you have to give it to Aquatic. They took a point away from their opponent, and they are going to be rewarded for it in the standings.
Yep, definitely. And the other thing to remember is, you know, it's 2 points closer to getting to the live finals where they're going to play for their prize pool of $325,000.
Oh yeah, that's what this is all about. That and the sheriff accounts?
That and the trip to the Global Grand Finals.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. How could I be so forgetful? Yep. The Global Grand Finals. It's only the biggest event of the year.
Yep, and looking at the damage here, Vetro in the 50B, 4,600 damage like we talked about. Feel My Potato and Mr. Man coming up there, 4 M60s, each doing about 2,800 damage. Exo, Photo Finish coming in next best for Eclipse, and so on. And on the second page, No Nick, No Skill not able to perform tonight as he did so far in the first couple match days. Definitely dropped off a little bit.
Well, some of the earlier battles he did okay.
He did all right, but he didn't have any standout games like he did in the first week.
He didn't really have a chance to. I feel like Eclipse had trouble getting him in the places that he needed to be. Yep. So we're looking at the post-match stats.
My fantasy team, 3 of my picks, all in 1, 2, and 4. Not bad at all.
Bravo. I think I got a pretty good score out of that one, but probably could have chosen a little better. Aquatic does go for long series. They always somehow get themselves into that situation, or they lose.
Yep.
It's either they go for almost a tiebreaker or it's a blowout.
Yep. So I had a good feeling that originally it stacked 2 from Apex, but I decided, nah, I think this match is going to be a longer one. I think it's a safer bet anyway, so I picked Mr. Man as well.
All right, so we actually do have our winners interview on the line. Let's talk to Eclipse, see what they have to think about their performance. So, Master Pupil, talk to me. What happened in that whole series? Because all I saw were defense wins. What happened on attack?
Well, we're still having problems with communication. Pushing is just not our strong suit right now, and I think that showed very prominently. We were just hesitant on calls. We're still getting used to the entire team calling rather than having a certain designated person calling the entire battle. So, I mean, later on in the season it'll be easier, but for now it's making all the brawls really hard for us, and we were throwing left and right because of it.
Okay, what is the big takeaway from this? What would you say is how Eclipse performed? How did you guys play, and how did your opponent play?
AM60's played very well. I enjoyed the games quite a bit. The problem, though, was just we were going for a better score. I guess we kind of underestimated them. We've done that to them a couple times. They've always brought us into tiebreaker, and you know, it was just that way.
Yeah, and I noticed the damage was coming out every single battle. Were you guys conscious of the fact that this could come down to damage?
No, not really. We were really looking to win a couple of the games that we lost. They were, like I said, kind of throws, so we weren't expecting to get to this point. So.
Yep, and my last little question here real quickly for you. At the end there, you poke up on that ramp on Ghost Town in your Kronwagen. What went through your mind when you see 3 T-57s pop up in front of you?
I mean, I can't say it because it's a family-friendly stream, but I called it out, and I was pretty scared. My teammates would agree. But I ended up getting away. Got to kite him a little bit with EXO, so it was nice.
All right, well, thank you for joining us, Master Pupil. You guys played excellently.
No problem.
I'll let you get back to your tanning. I know it's very important. It seems very sunny where you're playing, which yeah. But thank you for joining us, sir. It was excellently played.
Thank you.
So that's Eclipse.
Yep.
They're able to secure a win. Not quite what they were hoping for. A lot of mistakes on attack, it seems like. They weren't getting their confidence pushing.
Yep.
But for a team that's at this level, I guess we can say it's just getting used to the roster changes.
Yep. So before we go to break, we have a quick recap of the offline match to where it stands right now. So let's take a look. The score right now is actually going to be 3-3. So a slugfest going on here between Top Tier and Valence. And Valence, you know, doing well on Himmelsdorf as well, coming in here. And G-Forcer back in his natural habitat, playing that 215B. As I say that, he bounces a shot off the front of Agako with the IS-7.
It happens. It's an IS-7. They're bouncy.
It happens, but something you don't like to see. However, it is going to be Valence, it looks like, picking up the win here on Himmelsdorf, and it's going to be the second map where Top Tier is going to be able to get back into it and tie the series up, and that's going to be Ghost Town. So Valence really making Top Tier work for it.
Yeah, this is probably one of their good days. So Valence, you can see, G-Forcer going down and heavy, not that doesn't spell something good. It's probably Top Tier getting ready to win. But Top Tier is a team that's expected to be aggressive, and I kind of expected Valence to be a little bit more, I say this in contrast, but a little bit more timid than you would expect out of Top Tier.
I was a little bit worried for Valence, I guess, after that first match versus Apex. I mean, what a welcome to the Gold League. Hey, here's Gold League, your first match, season champions. Have fun. So, you know, kind of worry about
smashed.
that. Yeah, have a little bit of a doubt there for them, but they managed to turn it around. They played very well. They got that win versus 07 in a very long, grindy match. I went back and watched the replays. That was a long match with a lot of mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
But they're showing that they can hang. You know, good scores. You know, they take it to overtime. They managed to win in overtime, so not choke. And they're going up against Top Tier, who are one of the stronger teams, in my opinion, this season.
Well, I think we can both say that was a thoroughly enjoyable but lengthy match. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, you're going to have 07 versus Apex. Don't go anywhere. This is the WGLNA.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Wargaming.net League North America. I'm James the Rockstar Grieve, once again joined by Randall Ryukill Holcomb.
Hey!
What an interesting match that we just watched. Very long, drawn-out series.
Yeah, if you did not catch it, make sure to go back and watch the VOD. It was an incredibly close match. Defenders win across the board. And then in the end, Eclipse coming out ahead on defense. Well played from them. Could have gone either way the entire time. I'd say Aquatic played excellently, showed us what they're worth. Eclipse showed us why they're number 2 in the league right now.
Both teams just slugging it out. Pretty much defensive wins through the whole series. Even in the last match, it was ultimately Eclipse who picked defense that won the match 5-4. So very even series there.
Absolutely.
Fun to watch.
Let's get straight back into it, guys. We are getting ready for our next match. It's 07 versus Apex. Now, take a look at the rosters. We've got 07. From them, we're looking at Leadif, Warbander, and Commodore.
All players that have been doing very well for him this season. Warbander has always been like their main heavy tank player. He's played very consistently. He's in one of those positions where he does the stuff that has to be done. Doesn't normally translate to a whole lot of fantasy points. However, this far in the season, because of 07's matches going for so long, he's been able to put up a lot of points. However, even more points goes to Leadif, who's the top fantasy point scorer right now to the date.
Oh, absolutely. Now, on Apex, Ox, Dodoma, Canadian Impact. Those are the 3 players that I noted down to follow.
I guess you could say they are all impact players.
You're great. You're killing me.
Yeah.
Yes, all 3 players, they put up the numbers. Those are the guys you follow on Fantasy, which, by the way, we should mention, if you haven't already gone to the Fantasy site, make sure to go over there. WGL.gg.
URL, right there.
Right there. Yeah, easier there. Just look down. It's hard to say.
Yep.
Easier to type. Get over there. If you don't have one, set it up. You won't be able to play today. You will be able to play on Thursday.
Prizes are weekly, and per the season prize includes a Type 59. So if you don't have one of those, make sure you get in there and keep your fantasy roster up to date. Also, another reminder that the fantasy rosters reset after every match day. So after every match day, you have to go in there, pick a new starting 7, gives you a chance to look at the matchup, kind of predict who's going to do well, who's going to do bad, make your picks off of that.
Yeah, and you can look at some tips you'll be getting from the teams. They throw out on Twitter their lineups, so you'll know who's playing what days as well, and so you won't get any surprises finding out that your favorite player is absent and won't be able to play today.
Yep.
So also feel free to reach out to us on Twitter at WGLNA, hashtag WGLNA, and also on Facebook /WGLNA.
Join us at 5 o'clock Pacific every match day for fantasy advice.
Yep. And also, of course, we do Facebook before the show. Also, I should mention our question of the day is, what is your favorite map from the WGLNA? That's of the 8 maps that we have in the league. That's not Dragon Ridge. We're not talking about Comorin. We're not talking about
Port.
Not talking about Port. But we are talking about Himmelsdorf, which was your pick earlier today.
Yep.
And my pick, of course, Mines, or if you got to ban it out, Cliff. But in this series, that's what's to talk about, because we're actually not going to be seeing Himmelsdorf, your favorite map, again.
Nope,
we're going to
get Cliff instead.
We get Cliff, so I'm satisfied with that. But I'm sorry, we won't be able to see your Himmelsdorf. You are a heavy tank
Saw
player.
it once already tonight, and it was a good watch. Poor Mr. Man there in that grill, just out of position through the whole match, wasn't able to get off any damage.
Yeah.
But I think he made up for it in the whole series because he was number 4 on damage done. So
absolutely. I mean, when you get the damage out, it almost doesn't matter about everything else, because if you're putting up the numbers, generally that's enough for your team. Everyone else who doesn't quite put up the damage numbers, they're going to need to make up their performance in what we call soft stats. Soft stats are the things that you just can't really quantify quite as well. Maybe spotting is quantifiable in that you can get some info, but the value of that spotting is hard to quantify.
Yep. Well, we are ready for our face-off. We are joined by both Comps and Meadowhawk.
Oh, fantastic. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. You heard a minute ago what our question of the day is. I want to pose that question to you guys, starting with Meadowhawk. Meadowhawk, your favorite map in the WGLNA?
Probably Prokhorovka. It kind of combines everything together. It's open enough that you can flex quickly with lights. It has the hull down for your heavies. And it's divided in half, so you get kind of those corner battles along the rails. It's just kind of an all-around great map.
So it's like the Cosmopolitan ice cream? Or Neapolitan?
Yeah,
Neapolitan. It's not Cosmo.
Chocolate.
I just said Cosmo. Yeah. Anyway, but it's just like that. You get your vanilla, your chocolate, your strawberry.
Exactly.
Okay, so jumping over to Comps. Comps. What is your favorite map, sir? Do you have a favorite? Will you
It's
tell
gotta
us
be
your secret?
Dust 2.
Dust. I don't know. Is that...
Well, we specified for the WGLNA.
It's
so
the 4 maps. We'll
Oh,
repeat this. The 4 maps in the 8 maps in the WGLNA. Which one? You have to pick of those.
It's got to be Steps. I
Steps.
mean, we've been the king of Steps, and I think that's still the case. I mean, unfortunately, we haven't had the chance to play it this season, and we won't be playing it tonight, but it's still our favorite map by far.
Will you ever play it?
Yes.
Do you think that's actually another team's actually going to let you play Steps? Or is this going to be a...
I don't know,
Okay.
but maybe someone will make the mistake, and we'll end up playing it.
All right.
So when we talked to you in the winners interview on last week, you said that while you guys won, you still felt there was some room for improvement, some stuff you had to work on. What do you feel is the main thing that you guys really need to work on right now?
Just cohesion, still playing together a lot more. That type of stuff. Communication still needs working on. I mean, they're not used to our, calling style. Our call-outs are short form for stuff. So once they figure that out and they get on the same page, then it'll be smooth sailing from there.
Yep. And Meadowhawk, so far, both the matches you guys have played have turned into very, very long matches. What does that all come down to?
It was kind of funny because both those matches were actually mirror matches with regards to maps, and they actually played out identical as well. I mean, we bumbled Ghost Town both times, and then had to fight our way back and had the lead going in, and then bumbled the last game to take it to overtime. So, I think it's just a matter of cleaning up our rotations, cleaning up. We're almost like Rival was last season, where they'll build up an HP lead and then just throw it away. So it's just finally grasping that kind of, the end of the game that we just can't, it keeps slipping out of our fingers.
The finishing power, as it were, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, being able to follow through. Well, against Apex, that's going to be tricky. Gentlemen, I'm going to see you on the battlefield. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for giving us your thoughts. And we'll let you guys get back to your teams. So thank you again. It's let's see if 07's going to have that finishing power, because this is Apex of all teams. And I like that Comps came out and said Steps is their top map, because I think statistically you have something to back that up, don't you?
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and take a look at the map picks that we're going to be playing. We already mentioned that Cliff is going to be in place of Himmelsdorf. But first we have Prokhorovka again, Cliff, Ghost Town, Murovanka, and then Ghost Town for the tiebreaker. Now, something to think about here is when they go through the whole banning process. Earlier, M60s, no one wants to play mines on M60s. That's why we haven't seen it so far this season.
And actually, I do have which teams banned which maps. So if I glance down, I can see that Apex banned mines, and Apex banned Steps. That's
so
curious.
Maybe saving it for later?
Actually, that's not a bad play. Make sure you don't play Steps. You know it's a good map. Comp said as much, so take him at his word on that. And because you don't think that it's going to matter, you're not going to need Steps to win. Let's ban it. Make it so our opponents don't get to see our strats. They don't get to see our strengths. They don't get to work on counters. We'll hide that, keep it secret, until later in the season when we can pull those strats out, and we won't have a map that was our strongest that everyone just learned to counter us on.
Yeah. Now, while we have a minute here, while we wait for the battle to start, let's go ahead and talk about Cliff for a second, because that's the first time we're seeing it tonight. Previously, through the seasons before, Cliff has been one of those maps where no team has really shied away from aggression. It's just been a map, even when you're defending, teams just like to brawl. They like to go up and over, go for the kills. Map rounds ended very quickly. So far, last season and this season, Cliff has slowed down considerably. Do you have any thoughts on why that's come to be?
No, I actually don't know why we necessarily have slowed things down as much. I actually wonder why teams don't speed things up.
Yeah, well, I think part of it has to do with physics, personally. I think a lot of that has to do with the physics coming in, the boost at A6 up in the north becoming a thing, and then the boost also on the hill, and teams can get up there a lot easier. And so what happens is now that teams can get in those good, hard positions that are hard to dig out, the attacking teams have to be a little bit more careful with how they attack. They don't want to push into those crossfires, which before you could neutralize fairly easily.
All right, well, we are loading in to battle number 1. Taking a look at the lineups, we have 07 with an IS-7, 4 Batchats, and
2 Emil Tubes. Meanwhile, Apex coming in here with an IS-7, a Kronwagen, 3 Batchats, an STRV 103B, and an RU-251.
We'll have to see how this one's going to pan out.
And it is going to be 07 on attack and Apex on defense.
see how this one's going to pan out. Opening moves. You'll have to excuse. I'm just going to call it right now. It looks like we've got a little mix-up on our scoreboards, so we're going to have to fix that for next battle. But I think we're going to have to live with it this time.
Yep. Well, looking at it, RU-251 making the passive scout position over at D8. That is going to be Wallhacks, just out in front, very similar to what we saw T1 Diabetic doing last game. And then looking at 07, they don't have any passive scouts. So, well, they have some tanks they could use as passive scouts in the bat chats, but they opted for the 2 Emil 2s. The Tier 9, very similar to the Kronwagen. However, it has a longer reload on the clip, and the gun doesn't behave as nicely. So a little bit of a drop off there, but for 2 Tier 9s, and you still have pretty much the same armor that the Tier 10 has, it's not a bad trade. And both teams just opting to play pretty passive here. 07 just have their bat chats in the low ground at H6, down trying to cover the rest of their team in case they push up and over. Having the Emil 2s work the ridge line over in the middle of the map.
And we'll just have to see how this pans out. It's a very slow battle we're going to be seeing here. Because as you can see, both teams not really doing a whole lot of active scouting. Those emails in the mid, I think those are what we're going to watch for as they actually moving forward into what we call the bowl.
This is going to be a very dominant position for them. They have not only the gun depression, but the turret armor to sit here and really just pump out a lot of damage if other tanks can light for them.
Yeah, and if they're able to spot maybe Nits, they can deal some damage, but they don't want to get risky because the IS-7 Nits is in a position that should those emails kind of pop out, they may start taking fire, mostly sides of their turret. The email's still pretty well armored, right?
Let's take a look for a second and go look from the other side and see exactly how this looks with 2 Emils looking at you. Just look at that. Look at that shot.
Commodore at the meet at the same time is pushing up, and there come the bat chats. Good call from Nits on Apex to get out of his position. The bat chats do not have a target to descend upon, and they're going to have to cross quite a bit of distance.
Andy Pans is getting focused out. He's down to 1100. One more shot is going to finish him off. Makos and Swipple will push over onto Nits, and they should actually take Nits out as well. So 1-to-1 trades here to open up the match.
Yeah, and Andy Pan's not down. He is at, 29 hit points. That cannot happen. Apex needed to get those kills. That's what they were depending on. And yes, 07 is down on hit points, but they still have a lot of guns in the game. And we do have an IS-7 Nits down in exchange for only one of the emails. And now Makos, yes, getting incredibly low, should go down. There he is. That's what we're waiting for. And Apex should be able to just get a little bit ahead here. They just have to take down Andy Pants, who is, well, safe and sound in a little bush. But Dodoma getting a little aggressive. He's going after Andy Pants. He knows he needs to get that kill, but at what cost is the big question. 07 makes their opponents pay.
It's actually going to be Ledif that gets up alongside Canadian Impact here, and he is going to empty his clip into him. And unless Ledif misplays it, he should be able to get this kill.
Yeah, and Wallhacks versus Commodore as well in the IS-7. Commodore trying to hold his ground, but he is now at 52 hit points.
Ledif gets the track, but he wasted a shot to do it, but he does manage to get the kill in the end.
Oh, and a ram kill from External. That's well played right there. He's focusing on Wallhacks, trying to get the kill on that little light tank. RU-251, do not underestimate it. Can deal quite a bit of damage if allowed to. And now 07, 3 tanks in the battlefield versus the 4 of Apex. The advantage for Apex right now, hit points and 1 tank alive. Kronwagen, 3 bat chats and an RU versus 2 bat chats and an email 2. So damage-wise though, Apex has to respect what 07 still has on the battlefield. But I think position, would you give that to Apex or to 07?
I'd give it to Apex right now. They have the crossfire. They have more tanks alive. They have Wallhacks in a passive spot in the south, so he'll know if they're rotating down there at all. And they just have too many tanks up along the north. I don't think they can really do anything about it.
Yeah, and with External and God Emperor Brett, where they are in their bat chats, they can deploy north-south wherever they need to in order to...
Yeah, but once again, if...
They're spotting. Emil's up.
If Wallhack spots anything, they're in a position where they can quickly pull forward and have 2 guns with full clips each onto whatever Wallhack ends up spotting. Even if he goes down, they're going to pump out a lot of damage.
Exactly. So now it's just a waiting game. We're going to see what 07 goes for, see what Apex is willing to do. Apex is on defense, to remind you, and they do have the opportunity, let's say, to just wait it out. 5 minutes about left, 4 minutes and 50 to be precise. And they're spotted. We have... think that was Lita, was it not? For just a moment? No, just the email is spotted now from Warbander. He's over in the middle of the map, who you should currently see on screen. And he is lit. 07.
07 aren't out of this yet, but they need to be very careful about how they approach this. They need to find an isolation on 1 or 2 tanks that they can win and where they can still generate an overmatch. Finding wall hacks and getting him down quickly would be useful, but as we see Brett just sitting here in a bush in a position to cover him, so I don't know that they can safely do that.
You know what I want to actually focus on right now? Something I noticed out of God Emperor Brett. You saw how a moment ago he was waving his camera around quite wildly? That's what you do when you're waiting around. It seems really weird, it seems really boring, but if you're trying to figure out what your opponent's doing, you're looking for trees to get knocked down. And you can't do that when you're just watching a static position. You're going to need to kind of shift around and go, okay, I'm watching angles. I know that I have a limit on my third-person view, but okay, actually focus now on the email too. Warbander moving forward, going after wall hacks. Is he going to get close enough to spot wall hacks is the question. He is not. Wall hacks is going to be safe and sound, which means aside from maybe a little bush cover for Warbander, he's going to have shots on his back, and also he's going to be able to just keep him permanently spotted, which is a huge advantage because Warbander is going to have to keep popping up, popping up, popping up. Shots fired. He takes 436. Oxmathis should follow it up. There's one more, and if he can't get the kill shot,
there it goes.
Looks like he's not going to have to. Wallhacks gets to keep his passive position.
And that just made things considerably harder for 07 if things weren't already hard enough. Just the 2 Batchats left alive on the 2 line.
It's possible. In my mind,
possible,
2 Batchats
but improbable.
Exactly is the point. But if Apex gets too aggressive, yeah, that's where this falls apart. But 07 shouldn't be able to win this. Apex should be able to come out ahead. The numbers are in their favor. And based on the layout right now, based on the positioning of Swipple and, of course, of Ledif, Ledif should be going down shortly. Swipple can cover all he wants. 762 into external. Second shell goes out. Not quite a kill. 201. External's still alive. And there, you lost Ledif. So it's just not enough. You just,
good stuff there out of Apex. Just grouping up, finding the isolation on 1, and just going for it. They just made sure that he wasn't going to be able to be effective any longer and get any more damage off. And now they can do the same thing against Swipple. They have plenty of HP. They have plenty of damage left in their clips to come in here and just chase him down. Brett's actually going to miss a shot. Shouldn't be a problem, though. It's another one, and one last shot is going to kill him off
there we go.
From external. And that's going to make the series 1-0 in favor of Apex.
All right, good start. Expected from Apex to start off strong. Not as strong as I would have expected, but this is 07 after all. This is a team which made it to our finals last season for that $325,000 prize pool. And
they also went to the Challengers Rumble in New York and played against Cosna Crew and Ding. So, you know, they're experienced team. They've played against European teams. So,
let's talk about this fight that we saw at the beginning. Opening move. Apex puts an IS-7 in the traditional position. 07 holds back 3 Batchats, wants to spring all over that, take down the IS-7 immediately, get a strong lead. Doesn't work. The IS-7 moves to the middle of the map right in time. The Batchats move on over, and they're completely exposed. They take too much damage, and 07 doesn't have the lead they were looking for. The element of surprise turned against them. Apex predicted the move.
Essentially, yeah. They had the crossfire. They had Canadian Impact over at A2 along with the Doma. They had a bunch of Batchats sitting up at A6, and it was just Nids down in the low ground. And so when they spotted the Batchat push coming over, outside of Nids just having to back away a little bit, the rest of the guns were ready to punish them. And to kill Nits in the low ground, they themselves had to push into the low ground, and they just pushed themselves right into the crossfire. So sure, they get out Nits and the I-7, but they bled so much HP in the process.
Yes, they did. Now, looking at the damage external, 4,450. 3 kills on top of that. He leads the scoreboard. Wall hacks at the end, the RU251, and you can see that the second page is dominated by 07. They just didn't put out the damage. Apex did.
Yep, absolutely. So, looking at it, once again, that's going to be a 1-0 scoreline. That is going to be Apex picking up the win on defense, which is something we're used to seeing tonight if you haven't already gathered.
Yeah.
So, now we'll have to see if Apex can break the trend that we've seen tonight and win the game on offense.
Yeah.
You think they can do it?
Yeah, I think we're going to see some offense wins here. 07's a team I expect to at least pick up a win in offense. Apex as well. It's their caller's wall hacks, dude. It's wall hacks. Wall hacks is this loud, angry, intense, in-your-face caller who does not enjoy sitting about.
Yep. Well, that's what I was about to say. If there's one thing that I know Wallhacks doesn't enjoy, that's just sitting around. He likes to be a team that's very proactive, and it's kind of been interesting seeing them so far this season on Apex, where he has no problem just slowing down. We're in a good position. Let's just sit here. And that's what happened in that game. They got to their opening positions. They knew they had the crossfires and what to do. 07 drove into it, and they just said, all right, just kill things now. I mean, there's no calling. It's just, all right, they're there, kill them.
We're supposed to be good at brawling. Everyone knows how to call targets. Everyone knows how to say they have the kill shot. Everyone knows how to call focus and what to do. Everyone's communicating. I'm reloading. I'm out. Missed. Fox. Fox is one word that people use to call out that they got a kill. It's actually a term from that actually it's a name. What is it, an Air Force or pilot's term? That's a excuse my poor lingo for anything not tanks. I don't know planes as well as I know tanks.
Yeah, me either, unfortunately.
But the guys Fnatic in the past, or Fulcrum as it were, they used to use Fox, and that would confuse a lot of people who were newer to the team because they'd be like, why is everyone yelling about this small mammal? Why is everyone yelling about a mammal? I don't get it. And you realize eventually Fox is just a really, really easy way, because Foxtrot, think about the phonetic alphabet, usually calling something out in that area is going to be just understood, because you don't mishear Fox.
Yep. One thing I know a lot of teams also use when calling out targets is when it takes down to a one shot to make sure people don't waste a shot. They'll say kill, and then now what often happens sometimes is that person that calls kill shot misses or bounces or blows a little bit roller than he thought he would.
Yeah.
And so what a lot of teams do is they have a second person say secondary, and so that's first, secondary. Everyone else is all right. We're moving on to the next target, and if those two make a mistake, that's on them. That's one, and then a default in case something goes wrong. But if a second thing goes wrong, you're up a creek you don't want to be in.
Yeah, I actually remember throwing back to way back when I used to call, which is years ago now. One thing I did when we were training up new guys is we would take newer teams and we'd put them together with people of about equal experience and give them slightly more experienced people in charge. And what they actually started doing was going first, second, third, fourth, and everyone just called out what if they were first, second, third, or fourth to get the kill. Right when they started focusing too. So you'd call like focus Rockstar, and someone would call first, and their job until that tank died was to be the guy who got the kill shot based on the tempo, because we laid out the groups so that you should get the kill about the time.
And that's planning at a fairly intense level as well.
Yeah,
that's something that you really have to practice and be into the habit of doing. It's not something that you can just show up and just do immediately.
Yeah, and people don't do that at this level. They learned that years ago. These players know all about what they need to do in order to get what they need to get done, because like at this point you should know that should be like ingrained in your brain.
Yep. Well, we have the lineups here for our second battle. 07 bringing an IS-7, 4 Bat Chats, and 2 Emil 2s. Once again, opting for the Emil 2s. Meanwhile, Apex coming in here with an IS-7, 4 Bat Chats, a Grill, and an RU-251.
All right, we'll have to see how the opening moves go. As it looks like Emil's going towards the mid, RU-251 from Wallhacks, going right up for his opening scout run. He's probably going to scout those Emils and get the spots. Will he? Looks like no spotting. Wallhacks got nothing.
Yeah, well, actually, it's going to be 07 running a very similar setup to what Apex just did. They have 1 Batch at A6. They're using their 2 Emil 2s as the heavies in the low ground along the E line, just sitting there in the middle, E4, E6. And then they have their IS-7 actually playing the hold down over at B1 along with their Bat Chats. And at this point, they don't really know that there's nothing in front of them, but they're ready for a push down the one line if it was to come.
Yeah, it's a strong play. What you're going to do is you're going to take control of the Northeast, take that away from your opponent, because you don't want to give the 07 the ability to just put tanks over in the Northeast. That would be horrible. You're going to take control, see what you can do with it. What Apex will do following this play, because because they don't have any resistance, because nothing's there, they're going to probably throw 2, maybe 3 Bat Chats on the cap, and then try to hold off their opponent as they try to get in position. Now, there is one tank finally spotted. That's Andy Pants. But was that by Wallhacks? Wallhacks didn't appear to be spotted in return, so that's important for Apex. Good lead for them. They will finally find the emails.
Yeah, those Emil 2s are going to be very crucial with the way how 07 want to play this, just because they're going to be the tanks that are going to be relied upon to get those resets. They have the 12 degrees of gun depression, so they can poke up and over those train tracks relatively safely and get the resets. The thing is, it's going to be a teammate that has to get the lights.
Yeah, have you seen whether or not they can just hull down straight at the cap?
There are different angles. Well, let's put it this way. There are certain angles that previously STBs and Centurion Action X's could play because they had enough gun depression, and those had 8 degrees of gun depression. The problem was their turrets were a bit softer. You put an Emil 2 or a Kronwagen in that position where it has greater gun depression and better turret armor, it's not going to do anything to it.
Exactly. Okay, that's a well-made point, sir. Thank you. Yeah, if you have 8 degrees of gun depression, if a tank has more, yep, that's...
You're going to be fine. And with the 8 degrees of gun depression, it was still iffy. You had to be in the exact position. The Kronwagen makes it, or in this case, the Emil 2 makes it slightly easier. The only thing is they normally cannot light for themselves, so you have to have a second tank in position to get the lighting up along the train tracks. Normally they'd use a Batchat or a light tank, or even an IS-7 can work if you put them in the right spot.
Now this is curious. I saw wall hacks on the cap was previously hiding in a bush so that no one could really fire on him. Nice shot there.
Team damage?
No, I don't think so.
I'm relatively certain that was Commodore pulling in front of the Emil 2 that took that shot there. I don't believe anyone from Apex actually fired a shot.
I'll check him out. See if I can find where the shell penetrated. Maybe see what's going on there. But no, I don't see it either.
It's one shot down for Fosta. So Fosta's fired one. He was the one next to Commodore. So I'm pretty sure that was team damage.
Oh no, he simped the shot. Commodore also going a little too high up into Dome, actually sinking a shot into his track. So that's another possibility. But with the Doma firing, I think I'll check on him maybe twice.
I will say this: anyone that has Dodoma picked on Fantasy is cringing right now. It's Dodoma being isolated like this.
Oh, Commodore gets ripped up. He's getting too aggressive in his IS-7. He's exposing his front tracks, which really isn't what you want to do in an IS-7, but I guess maybe necessary at this point.
Well, the resets did come in, though, so they have plenty of time. It's just they've bled so much HP on Commodore that Apex could theoretically at this point push with 1,000 HP lead.
So here's what I'm predicting. I expect Dodoma, look at his position. He's quite exposed, a bit alone, you could say. If he were the tank to be attacked by 07, if 07 decided to up and over, just attack that Batchat, they could take him out pretty quickly. He's only got 3 shells left. And ideally, you'd want to find out if he's on reload, go up and over, get the kill. You'll take some damage, but as far as which direction or what part of the map to cross the tracks on to attack and, well, I guess defend your base, I'd pick the north in this case. Going across the mid looks like a suicide run.
Well, especially with the way Apex are set up. Look at how many guns could very easily have shots in the mid. Even Canadian Impact, all the way up at A0, in that S-Tank, could very easily shoot down there.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Now, Dodoma's actually going to go on reload. He's about 5 seconds left, so any window that 07 was hoping for looks like it's slowly going away. And that should mean that, actually, that looks like Fosta's taking shells in his turret.
And they actually finish off wall hacks. Andy Pan's peaks at the same time. Dodoma had been sitting there staring off with Andy Pans for so long that I think he was caught sleeping a little bit. And so when he got focused on Fosta poking over to get the reset, Andy Pans just got away with it for free.
Yeah, and now we're going to listen in to Apex. It looks like they're getting ready for their counter move or to have to hold the cap. Let's see what they have to say.
No. Actually, you got to stay here because you got to cover.
So we want one bat go south?
Yeah, one back all the way south. These two, you got to
holding three. Holding three for now.
You got to make it all the way back.
I'm going.
Who got lit? You guys can't get one bat south.
I'm not lit. I'm gonna clip all these guys.
Guys have to push the middle.
Nits go mid.
Push the middle, like how? Just clip this guy and run south?
No, come up towards the middle. The houses are still up, right?
I got lit south.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just kill whatever's on the 6th line.
There's a bat south.
Okay, help him with that bat. Help him with that bat. Get ready to aggress middle.
Fuck, I had HE loaded. Email was just
kill Warbandit, kill Warbandit.
Okay.
I have 3.
Can you?
No, I can't.
Kill Fosta?
I have to clip.
I can't necessarily pull over
Find that other bat. I'm clipping.
Axe, you're by yourself right now.
Careful, Dodo.
As long as we can win the other side of the map, I'm fine up here.
We didn't win the other side of the map.
Then I need to go down there and help.
We need to kill the 6th line right now. Use the houses together on the next clip.
Yeah, this
I still have 3. Right, maybe we want to move you up. I don't know.
Guys, can we do that like right now?
Swippo's running away.
What's your clip?
I'm 10. Red 10. Alright, let's go.
Now,
I think we need to have Brett move up. Me and Nick are committing right now. Over.
Yeah, Brett, you might need to move up if they don't.
Yeah, I'm coming. I just don't want them spawning before I get there.
6th line.
Need this turret to turn.
You need to kill the
I'm
ice
reloading.
7 too, and
I don't have a
make
good
those
shot
in
on
the
him.
open. Get out of the open if you're reloading.
Nothing hit.
Why didn't you poke over when we were shooting?
Who, me?
Ew.
No, never mind.
Tom at me.
And this one's going to be slipping through Apex's fingers, I think.
Yeah, that seemed, that was unfortunate. They didn't move Brett up in time. I think I heard the call for that. Brett needed to move up. If he'd been in the fight a little bit sooner, I think that would have changed things.
Well, the call...
But Dodoma, nice kills right there. He's able to pick up 2, and that's going to be it. Apex in the lead. Swipple, full health, yes, but Commodore is incredibly low. So
to get back to the point, though,
yeah,
if you listen to the exact verbiage that Wallhacks said, he said, Brett, you may need to move up if they don't push. So it sounds like the plan was for him to sit back there, and their counter push to a mid push was going to be to dump over onto Dodoma.
That's too many layers, though. That's too many layers. You're putting a lot on Brett but instead you should have said, Brett, I need you moving now, or I need you not moving now, because.
Well, my point is, let's not fault Brett for not moving up when the decision was made for him.
Oh, okay. Let me clarify. Yeah, I meant to say that Brett should have been told to move up.
Yeah,
Brett
his tank should have been moved up. I agree.
Yeah. Okay. I see where we're coming. It's a bit of a phrasing there. Yeah. It's important to worry about that. Yeah. But altogether, Swipple does have a chance actually in this. I'll make that note here, that because Dodoma is spotted, if Swipple, if he were to get actually a on the move kill, just going full speed in a bat shot, that would have been amazing. All he has to do is get 1 shell into Dodo, and that should be it. But they do know where he is. 07 should not be able to walk away with this. It should be a win for...
Well, they only have a minute left to get this kill, and if Swipple can find Dodoma, he has a way to run, because he can outrun the grill.
Oh, and the position he's chosen actually excellent. So Dodoma will have to go up and over the hill. However, because of the Batchat's gun depression, he's going to have some trouble getting a shot on target for Swipple. And Swipple, knowing that Dodoma is so low and that only Dodoma can go over the hill, is going to try to take advantage of that.
He might have just
He's
got
spotted.
too far.
He got spotted. 7:58. Now
and here comes Dodo. Dodo over the top. He knows that the turret's turned.
Perfect timing.
Swipple doesn't even see him.
And he's not even looking. Right as Swipple is focused on the grill, there comes the Batchat, and that's Apex. Perfect teamwork between those two players.
Yep, good coordination there at the end. Coordination earlier in the round lacking a little bit, but they managed to get it done. So good stuff there, and let me just say, if you have Dodoma on your fantasy team, or Ox for that matter, you're going to be sitting good this round.
Yes, I picked him. I picked both Ox and Dodo. So,
Impact, unfortunately, for those that have him, not able to be a real factor this game either. So, sorry.
Well, you're just trying right now to let me down.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Look, Canadian Impact, he's going to show up and blow up.
Which he did in week 1 and week 2, and I paid the price for it.
And the thing is, he did exactly what he was told. He did exactly what he was supposed to do, and it just happened to be something that got him killed.
Like this, like 2 Batchats sitting here staring at him in the open field with full clips where he stands no chance.
Precisely, just like that. He was told to go up and over. Personally, I feel like that's a bit of an aggressive way to go up and over, because your escape, if you're spotted, as exampled right there, you don't exactly come out ahead. But this from Apex,
it looks like he was second guessing himself. It looks like he didn't know where
This was
they
the
were.
mistake. That was the mistake. When he peeked out like that, the timing was such that he got spotted. If he hadn't taken that damage, the chances were he might have been able to stop Dodo coming up and over the hill if he'd predicted that.
Yeah. I'm just not sure why he even bothered firing at that grill to begin with. I mean, I guess if you're spotted and you took the shot, you might as well. But he needed the thing he had to worry about there was killing Dodoma.
I think he might have been banking that Dodoma was too far away, or that waiting wasn't worth it. He needed to get the grill kill no matter what.
Yep.
But there you go. Dodoma, Oxmathis, got Emperor Brett, 3 players that we've talked about previously, top damage dealers. No questions there about them. Wallhacks falling to the bottom with Canadian Impact and Nits. Some of the Apex players, I felt, weren't used to their maximum capabilities in that battle. They were You could kind of hear what Comps was talking about with people getting used to each other in the pre-game interview.
Yep, some coordination issues there. Making sure that they were on the same page. You could hear the discussion about what do you mean. Just trying to clarify things. And once you've played together for a while and you've been in every situation, the caller just has to say make this play, and all the players will know what they're supposed to be doing. But still adjusting to wall hacks. And his calling style, just trying to figure out what they need to do.
Yeah, so we'll see what they're able to come up with as we are going to be moving on to Cliff. Cliff, to start, looks like we're going to have Apex defending. So to start this one off, chances are Apex is going to be able to put another one on the board, making it even more difficult and scary for 07. And this could quickly turn into a 5-0 because after Cliff, Ghost Town.
Yep, and Ghost Town was a map that 07 have struggled with. They've played it a lot so far this season, but they haven't actually really won anything. Even Valence beat them on it 2-0. So it's definitely something to worry about if they can't get some rounds on Cliff.
Yeah, and after Proc was a map that, by the way, I'll remind us, was expected to be a strong play from 07. 07 is supposed to perform on Proc. They're supposed to at least pick up one win. And because they didn't, that worries me about what they brought to today's game. Did 07 really show up with the roster, the team that we needed, that we expected for them to bring it to Apex?
Well, let's see if 07 can show up on our second map of the night.
Cliff, the most dynamic map in the league. Battles on Cliff always turn into desperate double-edged fights. Teams start from the same spots as they do in standard battles. The first base is located near the defender's spawn point, and the second is at the bottom of the hill. Sometimes teams split their forces and send several tanks through the 1-2 line to the left of the small hill, but usually both teams play at the center. The attacking team can send one of the tanks up to the lighthouse or behind it. Fast and quick-firing vehicles are better suited for this map, mainly medium tanks, including tanks equipped with autoloaders.
Lineups coming in here at 407, 6 bat chats, and a T54 lightweight. Meanwhile, Apex coming in there with 4 bat chats of their own, a TVP, an STRV 103, and wall hacks in the M4043.
All right, that's turtle strat right there. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You got an S-tank, you got an artillery. Once again, I've said before, if you bring the S-tank, you might as well bring the artillery because you ain't moving with the S-tank to begin with.
Exactly. So wall hacked, hanging out in the back. Got Emperor Brett, hanging out way in the back. But with all of these bat chats, the one thing that Apex is going to have to absolutely be sure of, and I'm talking about absolutely be sure, they can't do the thing that I've seen before where a team will say, okay, we've got this solid defensive tanks, let's put them here in the back covering everybody, and this one covering everybody. And then let's decide, oh no, Fosta, okay, on this opening scout run, tries to hold on, and he does. And then decide to actually take all of the other tanks, their bat chats, their TVP, and put them in positions that those tanks can't support. If I see a fight happening with Apex somewhere where we can't see either wall hacks or God Emperor Brett come in and support, I'm going to be disappointed because that's going to be, I think, a misuse of those tanks.
Yeah, well, we talked about it a lot last season. Teams on Cliff went with very passive defenses where they didn't rotate a lot. They set in one position. And we saw the attacking teams win a lot last season on Cliff just because when you sit in those passive spots, all it takes is getting a little bit of intel, figuring out where the tanks are, and just coming up with a play. And if they don't change it up, even halfway through your attack, they're going to just get focus fired out. They're going to get shut down, and the game's over.
And there we go. Blind shot by Artie onto Fosta. Fosta looks like he gets spotted. And shot for 380 from the mid. Fosta's going to need to get out of here. This is a dangerous position, but he's playing it well, using the sharp angles of his T-54 lightweight to create an auto bounce angle. If you're angled enough, shells bounce off you like a stone skipping on water, right? It can't penetrate because it just doesn't happen. Now, we're looking at the artillery view of wall hacks as he's zeroing, about to get reloaded, or is reloaded, I should say. And he just wants to see a tank spotted before he fires. We'll see if that's going to happen, or if it's not going to happen. But he's actually going to change up his view. He's going and looking very, very far back in the map.
Yeah, there's a climb up there where tanks can sit and shoot towards the donut and the one line, and so he's just making sure there's no one up there. And there actually is a bat chat at G1, so it's not a bad guess, but not the exact location.
So
here's
miss.
what happened. The bat chat for Apex peeked that 2-line corner. He got spotted, and he pulled forward. By process of elimination, they said the bat chat's probably here or here. They went with the more common spot, which is up on the high ground where Wallhawks was just aiming.
Oh, okay. Makes sense. So, not going to happen this time, though. We do have... this is going to be pretty... Oh, now we've got the move. This is the move. We have Batchets moving from 07 up the west side. They're going to take the 1-2 line, as we call it, and they will be in a lower ground. So their opponent's going to have the high ground advantage on them, and that's going to be something to watch out for. Make sure you don't get too aggressive. Don't expose Swipple, Leadif, and Major Issues too much. They will start taking a lot of damage. The advantages in this is that artillery is going to have less of an effect. Wallhacks is going to have trouble putting shots.
He can still put shots down towards the 3 line on the high ground at the donut there, but the problem is when he fires, he'll get lit by the Batchets that are nice and close to him.
Yeah, exactly. And he won't be able to fire at the Batchets on the low ground quite so easily. And so they'll be able to focus out tanks like Nits, as you're seeing right now. Swipple firing at him, but no spotting. Problem here is, yeah, you've got plenty of targets. You just don't have any vision. You don't know where they actually are, so you can't engage them.
Yeah, and well, and that's just from the change of bringing the artillery. That's the one downside. While I am a proponent of bringing artillery in this case,
yeah.
The Batchets are not positioned in a place where they can get constant eyes, as opposed to maybe an RU-251 or T-54 lightweight if they brought that instead.
Yeah.
But it's a double-edged sword, because you bring the lightweight, you're going to spot, you're going to know where they are, but you're not going to have that artillery that can reach out and hit them anywhere.
Yeah. So also pay attention to 07's positions and how delicate this is. You're going to see Apex, if they get a good read on this, if they get the intel that they need, if they get the spotting, they're going to probably want to focus on Mako's Warbander and Anti-Pens. Wouldn't you say? 3 tanks in the high ground. It's harder for 07 to take tanks from the low ground to the high ground than it is for them to take those high ground to the low ground.
The problem is it's going to be really hard. It's going to be hard for Apex to group up tanks at this point. They're down 1,500 HP. They have an artillery and they have an S tank, which, once again, if you're going to go for a camp, then bring, by all means, bring camping tanks. But the problem is that if you are going to go for that, it makes it very hard to be reactive, which is what I feel they need to be doing. And so in this case, that S tank basically has to stay stationary. He can't really move. The artillery can't really contribute anything outside of just big shots if he can land them. Big if there.
But artillery is a force multiplier.
Yep.
He can fire at one flank or he can fire at the other.
Yep.
And he can do that much easier than some tanks can simply move from one area to the other.
Major Issues actually goes in and makes sure that they take down Nits, which is what I was about to say, is that's the other thing, is Nits stuck on the low ground. So that's 3 tanks of 7 that cannot move for Apex. And so, in theory, while they could have gotten an overmatch on these tanks on the high ground, at this point, the best it can really be is a 4-on-3 with a T-54 lightweight, making it 4-4 from distance. So,
yeah.
And not the greatest position for Apex right now.
Yeah, and Apex is also giving ground. The S-Tank that we were talking about before, he's actually going to be, well, I'll back off of it real quick. God Emperor Bread is actually shifting to cover the west, while every other tank from Apex looks like they're just climbing onto the hill and waiting around. Like, all of the Batchets are on the hill. They're just climbing around.
They actually should have shots, I believe, on the cap, but just out of render range, so they should, as long as things are spotted, be able to pretty effectively blind fire it.
Yeah, they should be able to make that work, and
yep.
Even if it doesn't, then they can get into range. The S-Tank is there to cover them.
Yep.
It shouldn't be hard for them to defend cap.
Yep, and just to clarify what I just said in case I confuse anyone.
Yeah.
So if things are lit, then it's not necessarily blind fire if they're within render range. However, here's the point, is if they're out of render range, if they're spotted, well, they can't actually see them. They can see them on their minimap. They can line up the arrow on their minimap, and they can kind of figure out where they're sitting and be pretty effective if you practice at it enough.
Yeah, but they're not actually being drawn. Your computer doesn't draw tanks at a certain distance.
You just see on your minimap where they should be. You aim your crosshair in that general area, and you start firing shots. And normally you can get some resets that way.
Yeah, and we'll see how that ends up panning out. We do have finally the decisive move from 07. This is what they've done up to this point. They've beaten their opponent down a little bit. They've done some considerable amount of damage and hit points. 1 kill is crucial. The TVP, I think, is an important tank to note. You've gotten rid of a very fast reloading autoloader. And now you're going to get into the high ground and move around for what is probably one of the most typical attacks from the west that you're going to see.
And the attack's going to come out now. There's going to be 3 full health bats making the play through the middle to absorb the shots, and the 2 low HP sitting in the back for cover fire.
Yep, covering your opponents. This is just very normal for everyone that's used to seeing military-style games or is familiar with the tactics. You're bounding. You send a few guys forward and you cover them. And you're seeing the damage being dealt right now. Apex is not holding up. They're down to 4,300 hit points against the 7,002 of 07. And this is something we talked about early on. We are not seeing the support from the S-Tank or the artillery that we needed to see. And that's actually credit to 07 for choosing to engage in positions where they know the S-Tank is not going to be able to support. Now it's up to Apex to pull back, get their tanks into a position where, yes, that S-tank can support, and that's where they may come back. But Dodoma, well, he just doesn't get out in time.
He got focused down by Warbandor and Andypans. Andypans actually even missed his opening shot onto Dodoma there. But one thing I want to point out is when 07 started that push, they only had a 999 HP lead, so just under 1,000. And they managed to turn that into almost a 3,000 HP lead.
And look at this. I'm watching the POV right now of God Emperor Brett, who moved out of the high ground in his S-tank, and he's regretting it almost immediately. He's trying to find a target, and it's just so difficult because you're missing out on these tiny angles that the S-tank really needs in order to get its shots on target, because it's a very low profile tank. And he is actually getting the damage out. You can see how quickly that reload is helping him out. Nice shot on Andypans. And he is the last tank alive, to note.
Yeah, well, you can actually see Ledif trying to scale the wall next to him just to get up close enough to light him for the rest of his team. Once they can get him spotted, it shouldn't be a problem to kill him.
Yeah, and wow, the S-tank really... I love how God Emperor Brett's driving himself backwards, actually. He's managing to do all
Trying to keep his frontal armor towards the rest
not gonna be
of
enough.
07, but it's not going to be enough, like you said, at the end of the day. And that's going to make it 2-1, still in favor of Apex, but 07 showing that they still have some signs of life.
Yeah, Apex did not play that aggressively enough, I think. They had an S-tank and they had an artillery. They should have done more to get spotting and get control. Make it so their opponent has to slow down, and so you can keep actually dealing damage. What happened is they had the entire battle dictated to them. 07 said, we're going to attack on the west. We're going to focus that TVP. We're going to take down that TVP.
Yep.
Apex had to say, oh, you're going after my TVP. Okay, we're going to do something about that.
Yep.
Oh, you're taking the west side. We're going to have to do something about that. They never said, this is what we're going to do, and decided that's what's going to happen.
Yep.
They had everything told to them, and they had an answer.
They were caught flat-footed, essentially.
Yeah, I like to think of it as kind of a question-answer. When you do something in a battle, I kind of consider it as like the question. I'm going to scout the middle of the map. What are you going to do about it?
Who's going to ask the first question is at the end of the day. And in this case, it was 07. And the thing is when you set up like Apex just did,
yes,
they essentially what they do is they say, all right, this is what we're going to do, and they just sat there. There was no attempt to really flex too many tanks. Not anything that really changed the shape of that battle. It was just a few little minor positions, but for the most part, it was the same static positions. And what happens when you do that is you give 07, you're saying, you have 10 minutes to find a way to break this, and that is a lot of time in this game.
It's like a game of Battleship. If you keep hunting around, you get your clues, and there we go.
We know your battleship is in A6, so let's get them sunk.
Oh, I know this configuration. You're putting him over here, so usually you put these things in these proximities around this, and this is the strategy. You know, it's like you put one and one together, and eventually you just figure it out. Context clues.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So we are going to be getting underway with our fourth battle here in a second. So do you think that 07, now defending, can tie this up 2-2?
Possibly, but I think that Apex does better on attack right now. I'm going to kind of point at wall hacks for this one. He's known for his aggression. He doesn't like to slow things down, and I feel like he doesn't handle that quite as well. So we'll have to see in battle number 2.
Lineups coming in here. Nothing too mind-blowing out of either team. In fact, very similar lineups to the ones we just saw. 07 coming in here with 5 Bat Chats, a TVP, and a T-54 lightweight. Meanwhile, Apex coming in with 6 Bat Chats of their own and a M4043 once again.
We'll have to see how that goes. Now, I'm going to focus on the wall hacks one more time in this M4043. See what he's going to go for, as you're going to see the the mob on the mini map there of Bat Chats moving around. They're
is this going to be an up and over from Apex?
It looks like a split, actually. So God Emperor Brett going into the backfield will be in a cover fire position, sniping in a Bat Chat. I know it's taboo.
We saw this out of them last match day, actually. What they end up doing is they leave just this one Bat Chat at J5 that can cover the backfield and artillery, and then they push around and get pressure over on the 8-9 line. And what ends up happening is, as the teams respond to that 2-cap play, the artillery then in turn has better shots on the rest of their tanks, onto the back of Bat Chats. And we very well know what happens if an artillery connects an HE shell into the back engine deck of a Bat Chat.
I think we might find out in a moment. And that's
just a little bit short.
A little over, I think, right? Yeah, it's hard to hit a Bat Chat on the backside of the middle hill there. It's it's also a Bat Chat. It's incredibly low. The mound right in front of that Bat Chat is just high enough. Even though it's an M4043, there's a better chance that you're going to miss.
Yeah, and what this artillery does for Apex is like, so look, if you look at the corners that their 07 are sitting in right now, if they try to poke out to get the resets towards Apex, you know, say they peek E2 or E3 or the south end there at F3 or even on the backside of the hill in the middle of the map, they're going to be relatively safe or in cover from the other batch hats of Apex. But then all of a sudden Wallhacks is like, hey guys, I can shoot at your back. So it puts them in a really weird crossfire where you just have to constantly remember that you're not already safe, and there really isn't any way for them to be safe from the artillery unless they want to push into the other guns.
Yeah, and let's see if Wallhacks is gonna be able to sink a shell. It goes for it, and it goes
way short.
That's the unfortunate part about an American arty. Also about not zeroing your shell quite all the way. But he knew his time was a
He knew he had
resource.
a short window, and he took the risk, and so often through the last season, we've seen that risk pay off in spades for some of these teams.
Yeah, sometimes it's just worth it. If you're not going to fire for an entire reload, might as well just fire, right?
Yep.
Just let a shell go.
Looking at you, Chase Potato, right now.
Shoutouts. Well, Apex, we're going to have to see what they're going for. See if they're going to be able to make this attack work. It's a curious way to go about the map. You're depending on arty spotting, getting some control, but...
Oh, is he going to land that shot?
Just short.
Oh,
No.
RNG just not working for him right now.
It's really not. So he wants to get the damage. We saw 4 last battle from Wallhacks, just not able to perform like he needed to in an artillery piece. And I got to give it to 07. They're giving Apex every single opportunity to get a little bit of a lead here. And we'll see. We'll see what they go for, because now I actually notice on the southeast, you see 2 batch shots pulling back. That could be...
It's going to be Nits into Doma rotating out of the backfield, actually.
Is that there's no way you're going west side, right? You're not going to go for...
Well, see, the thing is it would make sense if they could do it unspotted, but look at the positioning out of Fosta. He's sitting on in that bush at G3, so they can't rotate through the backfield without being spotted. If they get spotted down there, I don't see any reason why 07 wouldn't just group up all their tanks and just converge on what's left on the high ground.
Look at this. Fosta's got spotting on Dodoma. Dodoma's going to now be getting, I'll show you this, getting into the low ground. He's going to do what we call proxy spotting, and he'll even try and ramp on up, surf on up there. He spots Fosta because he gets within 50 meters. It doesn't matter if there's a giant rock between the two of you, but you're 50 meters away, so there should be an artillery shell.
Yep, and Canadian Impact left shots. This is a great process of elimination on how to get this lightweight out. You either leave him for artillery, or you let the bat shots take care of him. Does not leave Fosta with any safe place to go.
And
down he goes.
That's it. Okay, so the scout's out. You've got Fosta down. Now you don't have to worry about the risk of a T-54 lightweight scurrying around and being annoying for you. Your artillery piece is now able to feel a little safer, feel a little bit more secure.
I just want to point out, if you guys remember, just a few minutes ago we were talking about why passive defenses are a bad thing and why the other teams typically can, with enough time, can break them down and find picks on things, and they just don't work. That's exactly why. Just that one little play. They took their time, they rotated around. Hey, we found Fosta. Hey, no one can support Fosta. Hey, we can watch every single angle he can leave at. Can someone kill him? Yeah, let me open up this angle, Canadian Impact said. He started shooting at him. Then Fosta said, I have nowhere to go. I'm dead. He didn't even try to leave. He just said, this is over. And he just got focused out, and that's...
It's over. That's it. He didn't move out of a position that he was spotted in minutes ago.
Let me just put it this way. That one move may have just lost 07 this game.
Maybe. But
that one tank going down.
It depends if Apex is actually going to make their decisive move, because on Cliff, this is a big enough map that with a mobile lineup like we see out of the defending Team 07, they can just run away. All of these batch hats, they can just spread out and just waste time the later and later this gets.
Look at this crossfire that they're about to have.
And so Crossfire, talk to me. What are you seeing here? So
yeah, well, if you look at it, they're grouping up and they're making this play towards the 2 line right now, but they've left these 2 batch hats on top of the hill. So the batch hats can push around here, they can get up, and they can get into a brawl with these tanks right in here. And the thing is,
up on the high
ground. So that their play is going to be to back off because they're outnumbered. So they're going to come this way. All of a sudden, they still have 2 batch shots up here ready to shoot down this way, and that's going to leave those 3 in a very vulnerable situation. And these 2 bats aren't going to be able to put enough pressure onto Apex quickly enough.
All right, well, let's get back into it because we do see the action. You were talking about that west side on the high ground. Shots fired. Mako's going down by 13:27. Major Issues forced to run away. Got Emperor Brett and Nitz moving around on the south side of the E4 hill.
they're actually going to go with the opposite crossfire that I was talking about. They're going to drop around to the inside and try to find the 2 Batchats on the back of the hill.
Yeah, but Major Issues is right behind him. They could decide, let's go after him. Focus on Major Issues. It looks like shots fired into Major. One more is going to finish him off. That's Nitz. And keep moving forward. Keep moving. Do not stop. Do not get held up. Your allies will cover you. And External on the high ground is going to start posturing up and pressuring out a few tanks. Lead going down as well. And it's over. 07 is just bleeding hit points all over the place. It's hard to just keep up.
The thing that is the most frustrating about watching this is we just watched, literally 10 minutes ago, 07 do the same thing to Apex. Almost the exact same move to a certain extent.
Yeah.
The same play. And they let it happen to them after just orchestrating such a beautiful attack on the previous round. It's so frustrating to watch out of some of these teams.
Yeah, it happens from time to time. Sometimes you just get into a weird tempo. Sometimes you're not quite on the game. You don't feel like you have a decisive, a clear direction, I should say. Not decisive. I should say clear direction.
It's like saying, hey guys, we just broke your turtle. We showed you how to break it.
Yep.
Now we're going to run it.
Yeah. Great idea. Let's run the same strat.
And it's not a knock on 07. Teams have been doing this all last season, and we actually, to be fair, we haven't seen it too much this season. But it was a theme we saw a lot last season.
The defensive play on Cliff has been the defensive play on Cliff for all of time. You get me? Like there hasn't been a time where the northeast side of the map, taking the backside of the hill, I should say the Lighthouse Hill, and just splitting the map in half, hasn't been the main strategy. It's always been that. You always go for that strategy, and most of the time it plays out. It's just gotten easier and easier for attackers because they've started figuring out how to actually attack. And I have to give them credit to our defender as well. Fosta actually playing an aggressive scout, something that, like, when you are the defender and you have the ability to take some advantage and posture up, yes, it works. It's perfectly fine.
And look
there
at
just
this
need to be more follow-up.
Look at this crossfire I was talking about. You have Ox over there towards the 3 line, then you have these Batchats across the top middle, and then the tanks up on top of the hill, just able to focus out Major Issues. And once again, it's just one by one by one, just watching the dominoes fall. You find one, you move on to the next. And it was just a great execution there out of Apex.
Yeah. So, and then Damage, Canadian Impact, leads the way. See? I don't doubt him. He will show up and blow up.
I hate to use the pun for a second time, but I guess I'm going to say he had an impact on that round.
Boo.
Meanwhile, Ox, Dodoma, everyone on Apex had a pretty solid round, even except for Wallhacks, who couldn't really get any major connections.
Wallhacks is the caller. I think we can easily write Wallhacks off as...
Except he's playing an artillery. If he was playing a light tank, I would agree, but coming out of this, out of an artillery piece, I'd expect to see a bit more damage.
Have you called and played artillery at the same time much?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to check before I went, because I used to play 261 sometimes when on non.
The thing to remember is when you're playing artillery and you're a caller, every time you fire, all of a sudden you have 40 seconds to sit there and make decisions. So you sit there, then all of a sudden you pull up your map, you're telling your guys what to do, click this. You can see everything from upside down. You just hold your right click so your cursor stays zoom in wherever you want to put the next shot. You look around, you can see everything. Some callers don't necessarily like it as much as others, but it's very doable, and I don't think it should really have that big an impact on how effective you can be with an artillery as opposed to how effective you are in a light tank.
I disagree. Oh, okay, maybe in difficulty as opposed to a light tank. Okay, maybe I can agree with that. But I want to actually make a point about it is actually quite difficult to play an artillery tank and to call. Because as an artillery player, to give respect to artillery players, the high skill ones, the guys that have just made shells connect that just are amazing, like they just don't deserve it practically. Like you don't think they do, but they make the hits. It is actually that difficult. There's a lot that goes into firing accurately and at the right time, predicting your opponent's move. If you're calling, your attention is split. You're focusing on what everyone on your team is doing, what they need to be doing in the next minute, and what everyone needs to be doing in the next 5 minutes.
But then you have to turn around and you have to say, well, if they're playing an artillery, they should have considerably more time than if they were playing, say, a light tank. They're driving around. They have to not only worry about aiming, they have to worry about driving where they are and not getting themselves killed. So I'd have to say that to a certain extent, especially on some of these maps, playing an artillery while calling is easier than playing a light tank or a Batchat while you're calling. It's a difficult thing to do. So,
But are you saying it's not difficult? Are you saying that it should be easy to manage? Because I don't think we can
I would say
that.
It is the easiest form of calling if the map allows for it. Would be my opinion.
By merit of contrast.
Yep. Now, there are some players that can call while playing tanks. We see it all the time on some of these other things, especially 07, Zone Delta. Look at what tank he's playing. Actually not playing at all right now. because 07 Zone Delta's not on 07. He's over on Valence. I just had a little bit of a flashback there. Still not quite used to him jumping teams.
You'll get over it. It's okay, man. We
so
all
last
have
season
to...
saw him with the 07 logo, and this team doesn't come up here. But actually, it's going to be the point remains. You know, you have Fosta down there in the tier 8. Ledef makes a lot of the side calls and flanks as well, and he's playing in tier 10. Looking at the lineups here in E100, 57, a 50B, 2 Kronwagens, a Batchat, and a UDIS coming out of 07. Meanwhile, Apex, a 113, 2 50Bs, Kronwagen, a Batchat, and 2 WZ111s.
All right. Well, we do have, looks like a cap fast out of Apex. They're going to be moving 3 tanks onto the cap. Meantime, Fosta's going to be trying to get into the high ground.
And actually fail it. And one thing I just want to point out is Andy Pans actually just took his whole clip to clear the buildings for Fosta. So, that, you know, we were talking about earlier about how you could use a Crusader SP on this map. He just showed us exactly how. You just get the 57 over there, fire 1 clip, clear all the buildings you need to, and drive away.
Yeah, and now we see the WZ-111s and 113 forcing Ledef and the Kronwagen back. And look at that. Well played. Got Emperor Brett and External right behind him, knowing that he's going to back off.
And once again, Apex just playing these simple crossfires. They pushed across the north end of the cap. They knew they could shoot down across that E line. They brought 2 50Bs up, and they just took away that whole lower courtyard.
Yep. I'm liking the strat. This is a nice aggressive play from Apex, and they're going to be able to put the cap pressure on. They've got 3 tanks on cap. There's not a lot their opponent's going to be able to do. Brett's on the reload. He's going to be reloaded just in time, I think, to bring any support that's needed. And here we got the move. We have the counter play from Apex, and it should be a flank that comes in at perfect timing. And got him for Brett's just going to be able to farm damage.
And the cap's actually going to get capped out.
That's
it.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's it? Is it? We have to wait, because if tanks start dying, this battle keeps going.
It's over.
That's it.
It's done.
Okay. Wow.
Done.
Okay. Good job. There we go. Cap fast.
They pushed
didn't see a response.
They took the easy. The thing is that the one tank of Ledef that Apex killed, that's the one missing piece of that puzzle they need to guarantee their resets. With him down, that's the one extra angle that they needed to guarantee a reset on every angle. With him down and them taking that, now all of a sudden, 07 have no option but to push in. And to push in, it takes time, especially when you bring tanks like E100s and T57s. If you can predict what the other team's going to do and you can move ahead of time safely, T57s, E100s, great picks. The problem is, rotating around, trying to get across the map quickly, not their strong suit.
Yeah, and I really felt like 07 didn't give Apex enough credit. If you see where we're going, they didn't see that this was an attack and respond as immediately as they should have.
Yep.
They thought this wasn't really going to be a cap fast. And when they finally had to move forward and do something about this, it was too late. They did get the damage in. It was too late. It was all done.
And anyone with a player in this game that has them on fantasy, I am so sorry, because even God Emperor Brett comes in at 2,500 damage, which is, well, not bad, not great. External 1,800, Canadian Impact 1,300, Ox 1,200.
Yeah, that
just fast caps tend to ruin damage.
Yeah, they do. They absolutely do. That's not good for my fantasy stats. Because I was depending on Dodoma to put up a lot more damage there. It's okay. He didn't do anything wrong. He played perfectly. Just it sucks for fantasy points.
Yep, Dodoma's just had he's been consistent tonight. He hasn't really stood out, had any one massive game, but early on in Proc he played pretty well.
Well, Proc I did have a little bit of concerns. There wasn't anything bad, but it wasn't quite as good. You know what I'm saying? It's like I set the bar so high for Dodoma that if he doesn't show up and have to like clutch a battle or, you know, do 3 backflips and then get a shot in midair, if he doesn't do that, I'm disappointed. So
when has he ever done 3 backflips and got a kill midair?
It was an example. It was a hypothetical. It was to kind of let people know how great he needs to perform in order to satisfy everyone else's expectations.
Make him sound like Batman over there.
Batman is from another team and another region, and played in the Global Grand Finals.
PvP
3
Super
years
Friends.
Ago? Yeah,
the first Grand Finals. The team that ended up taking down Fnatic. That was a fun story to watch.
Yeah, we'll tell you about that another time because the battle's about to start.
I was referring to the comic Batman, but that's
I was talking about the player.
Yeah, I noticed.
Why do? Oh, I see. What
there you go. 3 backflips, Batman.
Yeah.
There you go.
I just thought.
Right over your head.
Yep, right over. Just like Batman.
Just like Battleship. A6, miss. Well, that being said, 07 coming in here with 3 100s, a T57, a Batchat, and 2 Tier 9 bats.
I don't even know how to react to you
Meanwhile, Apex, a 113, 250Bs, an E100, a Kronwagen, a Batchat, and a UDIS.
All right, let's see what happens. This is Apex's match point. If they win here, it's over.
Now here's the thing that everyone cares about. Can Wallhacks get up onto the A3 boost without flipping himself over?
This is the greatest question of our age. The greatest question of our time. Scholars will debate this topic for years. Will he do it? Will he make it?
He gets it up first time, but here, this isn't where he got into trouble. When he got into trouble was trying to get over towards A3 once he's up here. Awkward ground. But he's going to be up here safe for now, and it looks like he's actually just going to get up against the red line.
Yeah, we've got actually a few tanks from the red team 07 watching the cap, waiting to see what's going to happen. And it looks like Wallhacks has successfully not flipped his tank, correct?
Yep, he's not in the same position where he was when he flipped last time, but that's just because he chose a different spot. And he's actually going to have a better shots from this angle. Some tanks can't get up here, but he's going to be up here all the way, essentially. You can't see it, but he is literally on the corner of the map right now. There's literally a red line underneath his tank.
Yeah, it doesn't display at this part. And now he might have a chance to prove how much he's worth with Fosta moving up. But Dodoma, what is hitting Dodoma right now? Everything, apparently. Because Fosta's even moving in, and he's might be able to get the kill shot. Lead does.
Good night, my fantasy team. Meanwhile, Wallhacks is just sitting here, just firing shots at these E100s. But I don't know that he's going to make them count. He's just sitting here farming what he can. Meanwhile, the rest of the tanks for 07 are pushing in, and that's going to be Nitz that's going to get focused out next.
All right, Nitz will go. Fosta goes down. Makos goes down. 2 tanks from 07, and now Warbander's taking damage as well. He's going to try and find his way out. Will the support from 07 be enough to overwhelm Apex, or will Wallhacks in this UDES be able to rack up enough damage and support along with...
Ox is going to come in behind Swipple right here and Andypans, and we'll have to see if he's able to get some shots off. There's only 5 tanks left alive for Apex, and one of those is Brett on 198 HP, and then Wallhacks actually gets spotted, and he goes down, so he can't farm anymore. And now it is just down to 07 trying to get together and pick off a couple tanks real quickly.
Yeah, Leadif has 1 shell left. Oxmathis picking that kill up. Now Warbander's going to want to find Emperor Brett. Andypans wants to stop Oxmathis for as long as he can. Just bully him around with his E100. As his battle buddy Swipple shows up, he's going to have to be careful not to get in the way. And there we go. Swipple's able to get a shot on target. 875. I think that was fire, correct? And now God Emperor Brett is inside these buildings.
This isn't over yet. It's 4-4. It's just the HP leads to 07. But remember, they have these E100s. They started off with 2,700 HP, which is a little bit more than Apex brought.
Yep. And I think Commodore might even be able to push a wreck into block.
Canadian Impact gets picked off, or picks off, excuse me, Andypans in the D100. Now Warbander's going to get focused out, tracked in the middle, and Ox actually picks up that from the third angle, and this all of a sudden might be Apex's round.
But these are E100s. They are tricky, tricky tanks. And if you do not respect them enough, they will take you down. Swipple can potentially block quite a bit of damage. Am I correct? There's a chance. Good angling.
The biggest thing here for this to be a thing is they both have to make their first shots count. Even if Swipple goes down, he has to make 1 shot count, or it's over. And that could just be it right there on a Commodore. The miss. He didn't get the kill, and now the Batchats are going to converge. They know that this 1E100 just fired, and they're going to get the kill onto Swipple and Commodore, and that's going to end it. Commodore could not miss that shot. He needed to take a gun out of the fight and make Apex hesitate a little bit more than he did, but he missed it. The Batchats knew, all right, 1 just fired. That's 750 gone. There's only 1 other E100 left to fire. So at worst, they kill 1 of us. That's still 3 to come in there and clean up these last 2. That's a bet they're willing to take every time, and they showed exactly why.
Yeah, exactly. That's Apex's teamwork winning out yet again. Got to give it to them. When the strat works, it works. The UDES played well. What was the damage output from the UDES? Can you tell me?
For the UDES, before he got completely obliterated off the side of that hill, 2,700 damage.
I'd say worth it. That's
not bad for a tier 8.
Exactly. Tier 8 tank able to deal sufficient damage. The E100s, I think, did their jobs very well. We saw 1 of them from Apex taking from 07 taking most of his hit points. That was, I believe, Swipple. Give him a lot of credit as a heavy player, taking just enough to stay alive. And I think it's hard to kind of quantify that or to really break it down, but when he's taking damage, that's not his lighter, less armored tanks taking damage. And so excellent play from Apex, showing us why they're dominant. 07 put up a good fight, just not quite good enough.
Yep, and I'm going to go ahead and shed a tear right now for Dodoma and his damage because he got evaporated when 07 made that push.
Yeah, if you were betting on Apex 07 being a longer match where you were going to rack up the points, unfortunately, we're a little disappointed tonight.
Well, I'm not. I'm hoping everyone picks players from 07 thinking this is going to be a long night, and that's going to help me catch up.
Oh, because you deliberately didn't pick them.
Because they have caused me many problems so far, and that's 07 players putting up so much points has really tanked my score in the fantasy standings.
Oh, I'm so sorry that you
so
decided
hopefully
not
I can
to bank
catch
on
up tonight.
You should put more weight on the 07 players. There's a lot of really solid guys.
Well,
Leadif is someone who I'm surprised at. Leadif is supposed to be one of those guys who puts up the top points.
Until tonight, he was the top scorer in fantasy so far this season.
Yeah.
Now, after this game, I don't know that that's going to be the same case because he really wasn't that effective throughout the series, I don't think.
This is a good point. He did have some
trouble.
trouble.
Look at the totals. He's actually not even on the top 7. It's 7,200 damage on the series, so that's going to definitely hurt there.
Well, I mean, also think about there was a cap fast that happened, so Apex was able to win without almost any damage being dealt on the grand scheme. So out of that, it was just Apex played better. I think 07... What would you say? Do you think they underestimated Apex, or it was something more personal? Do you think it was them not expecting as much, or them just expecting to perform better and not?
I think part of it has to do with 07 having different opponents earlier on. They kind of got how well they were playing kind of got skewed out of proportions. You know, they're playing versus Deja Vu and then Valence, and then when you could versus Apex is a completely different ballgame. But we'll get back to that in a second because we actually have the winner interview up right now.
Yes, sir. Welcome back, I should say. Comps, that was not quite the play that I expect from Apex. It was different. There was something very new or could you help me kind of like figure out what's going on with Apex? Why did we see gameplay like that?
I mean, it's Wally's calling.
Okay.
He's got a different approach on things, so that's sort of the way we've been going to be able to compete with EU and RU, hopefully at the grand finals. That's the direction we need to go to.
I completely agree. It is a little different to kind of follow, though. So what would you characterize that match as for Apex? Would you say that was as expected, or was it a little bit loose?
Well, it's a lot looser than I would like. I mean, a lot of mistakes were still made. Even though it's a 5-1, it was not clean. We still have a lot of stuff to clean up. But if it works, I mean, it works, so can't complain.
Okay, so whatever works. But what are you guys going to be doing going forward? What are you going to be reaching for going forward? What's the Apex that we're going to see on the battlefield maybe later this week, next week, or in a month?
A lot cleaner plays. A lot snappier decision making, and hopefully 5-0s. That would be a lot better.
I think everyone can wish for a few 5-0s. And then finally, I just wanted to ask about 07 and the way that they played tonight. Were you listening to comms during the cap fast? Why? What was going on with that? Why did they just let you guys cap it out?
I don't know. Apparently, well, from what I heard, the guys were expecting them to push in, and then Impact, I believe, spotted them, and they weren't doing anything. So maybe lack of information on their end. I mean, I don't know what was going on. So
yeah.
Hopefully we'll watch the replays after and find out.
All right, well, we'll get the recap from you later then. How about that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, well, thank you for showing up, Comps. Thank you for giving us your insight. It's been a pleasure to watch Apex and play against 07. It was a little nostalgia right there, a little deja vu, and we'll see you next week or later this week.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks.
So interesting stuff there for sure out of that match. Not exactly how a lot of people thought it would play out, but ultimately Apex just kind of putting their foot down. Just that one cliff battle just really sticks out in my mind. I'm just not a big fan of that passive play out of Apex.
Yeah, it was something where we'd been seeing a little bit more active play, something a little bit more aggressive then all of a sudden it backed off, right?
Yeah, I don't mind passive play when it's mixed in layers. You say, here's my opening, we're going to sit here, and now you have a second play when something gets triggered and you make that. But there just wasn't that sort of reaction out of Apex. It was like, we're going to sit here for 10 minutes and see if the other team breaks it. And that looked like it was pretty much the extent of the game plan.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at the standings because now, guess what? We've just finished the night. All the matches are done for day number 3. So Apex still leads with 9 points. Right behind them, Deja Vu with 7. Top tier with 6. 5 for Eclipse. 4 for Aquatic, 07 with 3, Valence with 2, and Rival with 0.
Another loss, and that's going to be top tier. It's going to come back from a 3-1 to win 5-3.
But look at those standings. 9, we skip 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 0. It's actually, like, the way the numbers break down is super satisfying to see.
If you have OCD.
Yes.
Okay.
Duh.
Okay, fine. So, anyways, to recap the night, we started off with M60s falling to Eclipse in a pretty, I don't want to say decisive game, but Eclipse definitely showed why they're one of the best teams in the league.
Aquatic put up a good fight, yes. Eclipse proved why they're the better team.
Yep,
I totally agreed.
We came to the second match where we just watched Apex just pretty much shut down 07 for the most part. They had one game there slip, and I would have to say that's more Apex losing that game than it was 07 winning it.
Yeah, I really think Apex was dominant, and we'll have to see if how 07 recovers from this one, as they've made a number of changes as the offseason. But that's going to be it for night number 3. I hope you all enjoyed it out there because, well, it was a pleasure for us. I'm Randall Rookhill Holcomb. This is James Rockstar Greaves. It has been a pleasure. We will see you on Thursday, same time, same place. This is the WGLNA.
Have a good night, everybody.